Chapter 4401, 1 versus 100. The giant beasts were massive, blocking out the sky and sun. Though there were fewer than 100 of them, they obscured everything from view. Each beast radiated a strange energy that interfered with soul sense, preventing Lin Moyu from perceiving what was beyond them. Retreat. With a thought, Lin Moyu decided to withdraw and observe first, no matter what the situation was. Compared to these beasts which were like small domains themselves, the Calamity crossing boat was as insignificant as a speck of dust. Despite the boat's sudden arrival, the beasts took no notice. Little Peng whispered with caution, "Father, these are domain beasts, formed from domain fragments or seeds. They have a talent for blocking soul sense, and their strength and defense are both astonishing. They also possess a mysterious power not recorded in my bloodline memories." He explained that, unlike the chaos races, most ancient desolation creatures tend to be solitary, with few social species. Domain beasts are one of the rare group-dwelling creatures in ancient desolation, and they have two origins. One is the domain seed. Ancient desolation holds many domain seeds, which drift aimlessly. Some drop into chaos, and under its great Tao's influence, evolve into domains. Others, under the power of ancient desolation, become domain beasts. The second origin is domain fragments. When a full completion expert in chaos dies, their domain shatters and fragments drift far and wide. Fragments staying in chaos might eventually coalesce into a new domain, while those reaching ancient desolation might, after many years, become domain beasts. Both paths ultimately yield domain beasts, but there are big differences between them. Domain beasts from seeds have complete roots and are individually the strongest, easily reaching full completion combat power or even exceeding normal full completion beings. Domain beasts from fragments are less powerful but far more numerous, as each shattered domain leaves many fragments. Thus, there are many more fragment-derived beasts than seed-derived ones. Nonetheless, in essence both are still domains. When gathered, domain beasts form groups. Ordinary creatures of ancient desolation avoid them, though exceptions occur like now, as the domain beasts confront a formidable foe. The Calamity boat retreated far enough for Lin Moyu to finally see the cause for their alertness. A cultivator. Lin Moyu frowned. It was a full completion chaotic cultivator. Though he seemed puny next to the gigantic beasts, his aura faintly suppressed nearly 100 domain beasts. Among those beasts, over 10 possessed full completion level power. The remainder, though weaker, weren't far behind. One would expect the lone cultivator to be intimidated, but it was the domain beasts who looked anxious. Lin Moyu peered further and spotted the corpses of several domain beasts in the void, with various magic treasures orbiting and apparently refining them. Little Peng explained, domain beasts are pure domain power. Refining them enhances one's own domain. Looks like that guy is hunting domain beasts. He's either highly skilled or extremely daring, unafraid of all those foes. Chaos Child asked, "Should we go around, Master?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "We can't. The place we're headed is right there, there's no way around." The area behind the battling cultivator was exactly where Lin Moyu needed to go. Catastrophe Supreme's hidden formation was there, now the site of a battlefield. This clash had gone on for some time. Scars in the void from repeated space shattering and mending proved it. A dozen or so times wouldn't have left these marks. Hundreds or perhaps thousands of breaks and repairs must have happened already, each making the scar deeper. While Lin Moyu was pondering, the cultivator acted. Hands together in a sword gesture, in a flash, blazing light illuminated the void. "Go!" With a low shout, tens of thousands of rays shot out, transforming into sharp arrows that rained on the beasts. The domain beasts roared in unison, releasing terrifying auras. As pure domains, their powers intertwined, forming a continuous wave that multiplied their strength. It was like a surge of domain force. A sea of phantom domains rose to meet the arrows. Both sides unleashed everything from the start. The cultivator activated magic treasures without pause, each unleashing different attacks against the domain beasts. The beasts' auras wove together, forming their own battle formation, which made them even stronger. Shockwaves from the battle continually shattered the void, leaving scar-like marks. Seated in the Calamity boat, Lin Moyu listened to the roaring echoes. If not for the protection of the boat, he would have needed to flee billions of miles to avoid being obliterated by the aftershocks. Lin Moyu had fought several full completion level foes, but never had he seen anyone as powerful as this cultivator. This man was holding off close to 100 domain beasts, over 10 of them full completion level, with strength that while maybe not quite at absolute peak could rival the 3 divine phoenixes. The struggle was evenly matched, but the cultivator appeared relaxed, as if he didn't even consider the 100 domain beasts a threat. More importantly, Lin Moyu noticed that part of the man's attention was on refining the dead beasts. He wasn't using his full strength on the battle itself. With each domain beast killed and absorbed, the rest only grew more agitated, but could do nothing to stop him. Still, the beasts didn't give up. They lashed out with wave after wave of attacks, blasting the void. Lin Moyu watched, fascinated. Such a scene was incredibly rare. At last, another domain beast was refined into nothing, and a sword flew back to the cultivator's hand. Lin Moyu's eyes narrowed. The sword's quality was extraordinary, its presence made him feel danger. As soon as the cultivator took hold of the blade, his aura changed. From a mere user of magic treasures, he became a peerless swordsman. That almost supernatural sharpness, Lin Moyu had only seen it in his elder sister before. Slash! With a roar, the sword's light exploded. The cultivator unleashed a dazzling strike, slicing open the void. A few beasts screamed and were driven back, blood spurting through the air. Ha ha ha! The cultivator laughed, collecting the blood and a few chunks of flesh with a casual wave. Fire blazed. The blood and flesh instantly roasted. A wine gourd flew out and, in an instant, rich aroma filled the air. Even Lin Moyu, miles away in the boat, could smell it. 4402. 4402. Chapter 4402, The Wine Sovereign. Amid hearty laughter, fine wine poured from the gourd and was downed in one gulp by the cultivator. In that instant, a rich aroma of wine filled the void, seeping even into the soul. Not even the Calamity crossing boat could block it, and Lin Moyu felt for a moment as if he might be drunk himself. This wine is extraordinary, and not just the wine, the gourd, it's a domain treasure. To store wine in a domain treasure, Lin Moyu found this remarkable. A man who loved wine so much he'd nurture a domain treasure just to hold it. He didn't have only one domain treasure, his sword was one too. That meant he had at least 2 domain treasures. This also revealed just how powerful his domain was. Domain treasures are not easily produced, only those with extremely powerful domains can nurture more than one. Suddenly, Little Peng cried out, "I know who he is." His shout was a bit slurred. He was clearly affected by the wine's fragrance and almost seemed tipsy. Lin Moyu flicked a wisp of world-burning fire onto Little Peng, giving his soul a jolt of pain. He snapped back to sobriety. "Who is he? If I'm not mistaken, that's the wine sovereign. Explain." Lin Moyu pressed for details. Little Peng said, "The wine sovereign comes from the upper region of the 3 domains, he's an ancient and powerful full completion cultivator. I don't know how long he's lived. My bloodline memory goes back tens of millions of years, and at that time he was already full completion and extremely strong. He's obsessed with wine. His domain treasure is a wine gourd, and he has a sword, loving to fight and drink at the same time. This matches him exactly." Little Peng wasn't 100% certain, but such a person was rare in all of chaos. Few could be mistaken for him. According to Little Peng, the wine sovereign was human, and a top existence among full completion experts. He earned the title, sovereign, because he once fought a supreme. Back in those ancient times, the southwestern and northern extremes once jointly attacked the central domain, and the upper region joined in too. The supremes of the upper and central regions confronted those of the south and north, while none could oppose the supreme of the western extreme. So, the strongest full completion experts of those domains fought together to stall the western supreme. The difference between a supreme and full completion being is vast, yet the wine sovereign's performance was dazzling. He alone held back the western supreme for several days, withdrawing only when another supreme came to reinforce. Records say he was wounded but not badly. To last several days against the western supreme and only be lightly injured speaks volumes about his strength. Some say the western supreme didn't give it his full strength, but regardless, that battle cemented wine sovereign's reputation, indisputably peak full completion. Wine sovereign, sword in hand, fought and drank. His battle intent was stern. The previously evenly matched domain beasts were now being beaten back. Their blood and flesh flew as several were grievously wounded. His clear voice rang out through ancient desolation, "I'll only kill 3. If you insist on courting death, I won't be so polite." His words, though not murderous, sent chills of fear. The domain beasts, clearly sentient, seemed to hesitate. Yet they didn't retreat, continuing their assault. Unrepentant, growing impatient, the wine sovereign swept his sword cuts the Tao. In an instant, the sword gleamed brighter than ever, shredding the void like torn cloth. Under its light, domain beasts screamed, blood sprayed, limbs flew. Lin Moyu was momentarily stunned. A sword that severs the Tao. It was exactly the same sword move his own elder sister used, just far more powerful but unmistakably the same style. Could Wine Sovereign be related to my sister? He wondered if Lin Mohan had inherited this man's legacy, but reasoned the odds were slim. As sword light danced, the domain beasts fled. A protracted battle ended with a single sword. The void was left in ruins, wounds that would not heal for thousands of years. The aura of Wine Sovereign's sword would linger, and unlucky cultivators wandering this region might yet fall to it. Now there was another domain beast corpse in the void of full completion level 1. Wine Sovereign took a swig and muttered, didn't know their limits, leaving earlier would have spared one more death. With a gesture, the gourd flew out, generating a strong suction that drew the massive beast's corpse inside. He shook it, a crisp splash was heard. Perfect for brewing wine. Domain beast wine, not the best effects, but tastes pretty good. His every word and action radiated cheerful ease. Taking another big swig, he set his eyes on the Calamity crossing boat. Little friend, had your fill yet? It was as though the boat could not block the Wine Sovereign's gaze. Lin Moyu felt as if he was being seen through. He piloted the Calamity boat over, stopping before Wine Sovereign and bowing. Junior Lin Moyu greets Senior. Wine Sovereign chuckled, to enter ancient desolation in chaos minor completion, even with a great treasure, you've got guts. Lin Moyu replied with a wry smile, I truly didn't want to come, but answered the call of another, I had no choice. Wine Sovereign drank, his eyes shining, glancing behind him. You came from Desolation Path, for this array. To Lin Moyu's surprise, Catastrophe Supreme's hidden array had been discovered. He didn't let it show, but answered honestly, precisely, Senior. I came for that great array. Wine Sovereign nodded. That array has existed for countless years, I noticed it long ago, but never managed to enter. It must be the work of a Supreme, I've always been curious. Would you share what you know, little friend? His curiosity was evident, his request direct. Lin Moyu hesitated, there are things I can't speak of, Senior. Because someone forbade you to? Lin Moyu nodded and bowed, forgive me, Senior. Wine Sovereign said, in that case, I won't force you. Instead, when you activate the array, would you let me observe? I won't enter, just watch. His tone was calm but unmistakably firm. Lin Moyu knew this was the limit, and he had little choice but to agree. To refuse again, Wine Sovereign would either act against him or at least defend this spot endlessly, blocking all progress. Lin Moyu could only accept. If Senior wishes to watch, it would be rude of me to refuse. Wine Sovereign nodded, then let me finish refining these two beasts. There's no rush, is there? Lin Moyu shook his head. No rush, Senior. Please, take your time. 4403. 4403. Chapter 4403. Forcibly bestowing karma. The Wine Sovereign produced a wine cup, pouring fine wine from his gourd. I won't view for free, take this cup as my thanks. Lin Moyu said, Senior, you are too generous. The Wine Sovereign shook his head, there is always karma. Others may owe me, but I owe no one. With karma involved, Lin Moyu had no way to refuse, so he accepted the cup. The Wine Sovereign said, you can save this wine, drink it once you possess a domain. Before he could finish, Lin Moyu had already swallowed the wine. Instantly, the aroma flowed out from within Lin Moyu, and 4 domains manifested behind him. The 5 realms domain led the center, largest and strongest. Next was the Great Thousand Worlds, slightly weaker but still a true completed domain. The Science Tao and Mysterious Spirit domains were the weakest, especially Science Tao, which was just a sapling. The wine's essence spread through the domains, passing through infinite space, raising their auras on the spot. This stunned the Wine Sovereign, who exclaimed, little friend, you actually have 4 domains. Lin Moyu had not expected his domains to emerge, he didn't like revealing this, at least not yet. But since it was out, he acknowledged it openly, just lucky, Senior. I only gained these domains by chance. The Wine Sovereign shook his head, no need for modesty. Owning 4 domains isn't just luck or chance. You must be from the domains, and should have undergone at least 5 ascensions when you broke into the Chaos Realm. Lin Moyu nodded slightly, there was no point denying, better to be open. The Wine Sovereign said, to possess a domain at entry into chaos means you are certain to reach full completion as long as you don't die. But to have 4 domains and 5 ascensions, you may even one day vie for the supreme seat. Lin Moyu said, Senior flatters me. The supreme position is so distant. He spoke honestly. It was distant, but also inevitable. There should be 9 supremes in chaos, and there was currently 1 vacancy. That spot was his to claim. The wine sovereign said, all it gives you is qualification. There are many with that in chaos, but whether you succeed depends on yourself. I have no fate with the supreme seat. But meeting you is fate, and since I can't help much, let me at least add a bit of karma. He tapped his gourd, and a tide of fine wine rushed out, flooding the void with fragrance so potent Lin Moyu nearly swooned. In the calamity boat, little Peng collapsed from just the smell, already drunk. The wine sovereign brought out another gourd, identical in form to his domain treasure but not itself a domain treasure, it was golden, not green. Collect. With a word, the golden gourd sucked up the entire ocean of wine, and he handed it to Lin Moyu. This wine is yours, drink whenever you like, it will strengthen your domains. Lin Moyu knew this wine was unimaginably precious, a treasure for enhancing domains. All full completion experts sought ways to strengthen their domains, such wine was priceless. This was a considerable karma gift, but forced onto him, even if he didn't want it, he must accept. Lin Moyu was both pleased and helpless, it was what he needed, but the karma. An elder's gift cannot be refused, thank you, senior. There was no other option but to accept. The wine sovereign laughed, it's not a gift, just binding a thread of karma. Maybe one day you'll help me. Lin Moyu thought to himself, as senior aiming for quasi-supreme. The wine sovereign was briefly surprised. You know a lot, did the supreme who sent you tell you that? Lin Moyu didn't deny it. I know a little, but not much. If senior is willing to discuss it, I am eager. He was polite. Someone who survived countless epochs and reached peak completion must know nearly everything, a living encyclopedia of chaos and ancient desolation, far richer than little Peng's bloodline memory. The wine sovereign glanced at the 2 domain beasts he was still refining. There's still time, let's chat. With a sweep, he produced a round stone table, not a magic treasure, just a plain stone slab about 5 meters in diameter, loaded with dishes. Amused, Lin Moyu saw it was set as a proper feast. The wine sovereign said, best place to talk is the wine table. If there's wine, there should be food. This is much more practical than those tea-sipping poseurs. Lin Moyu nodded, senior is right, wine's ready, pour for yourself, the food's here, help yourself. Let's eat and chat. As he drank and snacked, he said, after full completion, there's only one path left, the supreme. But the number of supremes is limited. I tried for the vacant seat, but it was hopeless. Had I pushed, I'd be dead. If the supreme path is closed, there's only one other road, quasi-supreme. Lin Moyu said, as far as I know, quasi-supreme isn't equal to supreme. The wine sovereign retorted, who says quasi-supremes are lesser? Lin Moyu was momentarily lost, took a sip, then replied, that was just my own assumption. The wine sovereign sighed, maybe to supremes, quasi-supremes seem lesser, but not to me. Lin Moyu immediately said, senior, please enlighten me. The wine sovereign explained, supremes are chaos's most perfect beings, body, soul, power, Tao, all flawless but none quite at the absolute apex, always a tiny step short. Becoming a supreme has 2 prerequisites. First, the domain must be strong enough to leap from full completion to supreme. How strong? There's no fixed standard, but in my experience, at least 5 times the power of a perfect domain. As for what a perfect domain is, do you know? Lin Moyu shook his head. Even if he did, he would have said no. He wanted a thorough answer from the wine sovereign. The wine sovereign, sipping, said, then let me explain in detail. He talked at length. Lin Moyu understood why he was so willing. The answer was karma. Every bit of knowledge, every piece of advice, was a thread of karma. Should the wine sovereign need a favor someday, Lin Moyu would find it hard to refuse. Of course, this was because the sovereign valued Lin Moyu. For others, he probably would have sent them away. Listening, Lin Moyu's understanding of the chaotic cultivation system grew ever clearer. 4404. 4404. Chapter 4404, Beauty's Fate. To become a supreme, one must first reach the absolute pinnacle of the chaos realm full completion stage. To reach that pinnacle, one must refine their domain to perfection. That's what the wine sovereign called a perfect domain. But having a perfect domain is not enough, it only means reaching the peak of full completion, still far from a supreme. If you want to be a supreme, you need to further strengthen your perfect domain. Yet what makes a perfect domain perfect is that every aspect has already reached its limit. To strengthen a domain further, the only way is to compress its power. This is hard even for domain lords. It demands that the domain lord's own power be strong enough. Even at the same full completion peak, domains can differ in strength. Those differences stem from the number of times one's power ascended when first achieving the Chaos Realm. That ascension is a qualitative leap, a foundation for all future progress. If your foundation was weak, no matter how high you later climbed, collapse was inevitable. How many times can you compress your perfect domain? It depends on the number of ascensions at your chaos breakthrough. It's a simple truth, but most only realize it too late. Based on the Wine Sovereign's own experience, becoming a supreme required compressing the strength of a perfect domain at least fivefold. To do that, you needed to ascend 5 times when entering the Chaos Realm. That's why, upon hearing Lin Moyu had ascended 5 times and owned 4 domains, he was certain Lin Moyu was qualified to challenge the supreme position. So when Lin Moyu admitted he was sent by a supreme, the Wine Sovereign wasn't surprised. In fact, he thought Lin Moyu was being groomed for the throne. After all, that last supreme spot has been vacant countless years, with each of the remaining supremes coveting it, hence many wars. It's natural they'd want their own followers to take that place. The Wine Sovereign drank and ate, telling stories as if reminiscing rather than giving a lecture. Lin Moyu realized, if he wanted to become a supreme, apart from cultivation, he'd also have to survive assassination by the other supremes. Catastrophe Supreme had friends and plans, but certainly also enemies. His chosen path would be full of hardship. The Wine Sovereign said, "My domain is perfect, but compressed just 4 times. That's why when I tried to become supreme, I failed. I know I'll never make it now, my foundation's inadequate. But chaos always offers another way, so I forged a new path striving for quasi-supreme." Quasi-supreme is also a type of supreme. You could call it an imperfect supreme. But quasi-supremes also have their advantages. Take the Chaos Wild Ox, for example. He's one. His physical might already surpasses most supremes, only in soul does he fall short. In a fight, it's a 50-50 split. If I ever become a quasi-supreme, next time I meet the Western Supreme, I'd definitely give him a few sword slashes, let his blood soak my wine. So, a quasi-supreme is an imperfect supreme. If the flesh, soul, or Tao reach a supreme's level, you're quasi-supreme. Some quasi-supremes even surpass supremes in certain aspects, and can match them in battle. Lin Moyu asked, "Senior, your chosen path, is it the sword Tao?" Becoming quasi-supreme through sword mastery, though lacking in body or soul, one's attacking might alone would trouble any supreme. The Wine Sovereign laughed, can't say if I say it, it won't work. But I'll tell you, it's not the sword Tao." Lin Moyu was surprised. That sword strike against the domain beasts was so fierce. "I thought it was your path." The Wine Sovereign smiled, "I am good with swords, but that path is already taken. To tell the truth, I learned that blade from someone else." Lin Moyu's heart gave a thump. Surprise grew on his face. "The sword Tao is already taken?" The Wine Sovereign replied, "What's strange about that? Her sword was the truly peerless one. Back in the day, even supremes retreated before her. Unfortunately, beauty's fate is brief." He didn't elaborate, heaved a long sigh, and looked full of regret. Lin Moyu's heart was turbulent. He forced himself to keep his expression calm, sipping wine. That phrase, "beauty's fate is brief," made him instinctively think of his elder sister. All memories of Lin Mohan flooded his mind. He recalled how, in a small world, he'd obtained a sword arrogant and powerful with everyone, yet obedient and meek with Lin Mohan. When Lin Mohan drew her sword, one slash split the heavens, the next tore open earth. Now, it was clear that was her sword Tao. No one had taught her those moves, her sword belonged to herself alone. Matched with the Wine Sovereign's words, Lin Moyu was almost certain, the tragic heroine mentioned was his own elder sister. With curiosity, he asked, "Senior, I don't use a sword, but am interested in swordsmanship. May I hear about that quasi-supreme who walks the sword Tao?" He wanted to hear more about this female quasi-supreme and also to guide the conversation away from the Wine Sovereign's own path. A glint of nostalgia shone in the Wine Sovereign's eyes. That was long ago. Chaos then had 9 supremes. The thrones were full, so everyone else could only aim for the quasi-supreme path. She became a Taoist at that very time. There was a supreme disciple who also studied the sword Tao. The two vied for the quasi-supreme title, but the disciple was no match, defeated quickly. Hurt, The disciples' master the Supreme shamelessly intervened, trying to block her ascension. But she broke through on sheer sword intent and became a quasi-supreme. Not only that, she immediately struck back at the Supreme. Those who offend me must be taught a lesson. The Wine Sovereign's face filled with remembrance reliving the past. Lin Moyu was ever more certain this was his sister, the personality was just too alike. He pressed further, and what happened then? The Wine Sovereign answered, the Supreme sealed the battlefield, no one but her and a few other Supremes knew what happened. But in the end, she was unharmed, and the Supreme went into hiding. Everyone knew the result. She left behind a sword, her proof of the Tao, so that all could understand. But her strike was so powerful, few ever grasped it. After many years of sword study, I gathered only a trace. Sadly, the Wine Sovereign sighed. No one knows when it began, but she suddenly fell, no one knows why. Such a brilliant soul, and yet. Sigh, truly, beauty's fate is brief. 4405. 4405. Chapter 4405. She probably doesn't like that title. As the Wine Sovereign reminisced, he couldn't help but sigh between drinks, yet even this sighing had a trace of carefree spirit. In his long life, there weren't many things worthy of such reflection. That quasi-supreme of the sword Tao he spoke of was one of those few. It was easy to imagine. In those days, the Wine Sovereign was likely a bit of a fanboy of that quasi-supreme. His words, astonishing talent, said it all. Lin Moyu asked, what was that quasi-supreme's name back then? The Wine Sovereign replied, after so many years, few still know her name. Back then, she fought the Supremes head-on, letting the world know that quasi-supremes were no weaker than Supremes. At that time, everyone respectfully called her the Great Sword Sovereign. The three words Great Sword Sovereign carried clear reverence in the Wine Sovereign's tone. Even after countless years, this once supreme full completion expert still respected the Great Sword Sovereign greatly. But, Lin Moyu had a feeling that his own elder sister probably wouldn't like that title very much. For some reason, the name just didn't sound quite right. But with Lin Mohan's personality, even if she disliked it, she likely wouldn't bother correcting anyone. A name was just an external label, it wouldn't have bothered her. Lin Moyu commented curiously, Great Sword Sovereign doesn't sound all that pleasant. The Wine Sovereign suddenly laughed, that's not important at all, titles are just labels, after all. Lin Moyu pressed, if she reached such a height, why did she suddenly fall? The Wine Sovereign took a drink and said, no one knows. With her strength, even two Supremes together could barely kill her. So her death was extremely odd. I think there must be a hidden reason, but back then my cultivation was too low to investigate. That said, some people did investigate. Full completion experts skilled in the Tao of Time tried rewinding chaos itself, but they found absolutely nothing. It's an unsolved mystery even now. But I believe, even if the Great Sword Sovereign really fell, with her power, her true spirit must still exist, and one day she will return to chaos. Lin Moyu did not reply, but thought quietly, she may already be back. Lin Mohan was most likely the Great Sword Sovereign reincarnated. If so, it explained everything. Once, Lin Mohan had been an associate in Catastrophe Supreme Circle, a participant in the entire grand plan. With her disposition, after learning of Tao's existence, she'd have refused to accept it. But she wasn't reckless, unwilling or not, she wasn't the type to throw her life away. So maybe, back then, my sister wasn't killed, but committed suicide to reincarnate. This theory now seemed almost definitely correct. According to the Wine Sovereign, the Great Sword Sovereign's power was already at chaos's very peak, no less than a supreme. In all of chaos, except for Tao itself, almost nothing could kill her. Her sudden death was most likely self-imposed. In the distant sky, colors shifted as several treasures naturally flew back. The two full completion domain beasts had been fully refined, nothing left but bones. All their essence was taken up by the Wine Sovereign. He needed vast domain power to attempt his quasi-supreme breakthrough. The Wine Sovereign put away the wine table and clapped. All right, my final preparations for quasi-supreme are finished. Once I watch you enter the array, I'll be on my way. This trip to ancient desolation, besides the domain beasts, the biggest gain is meeting you. To be honest, I don't know why, but when I look at you, I see some of the Great Sword Sovereign's shadow. Maybe your future achievements will not be less than hers. Lin Moyu bowed. Thank you, Senior, for your blessing. If I ever succeed, I'll never forget your gifts of today. I also wish you a smooth Tao proof. may you reap as you seek. The wine sovereign let out a great laugh and gestured widely, cheers, little friend. The fumes and mists in the void cleared instantly, and everything became transparent. A tiny crack danced in the ancient desolate sky, inconspicuous, almost unnoticeable. Such cracks are common, made by the breath of powerful ancient desolation beings, divine light, or collisions of powerful energies. As such, this crack is easily overlooked, but even so, it didn't escape the wine sovereign's eye. He'd known of this hidden array here for a long time, but could never break in. Over endless years, he'd studied array arts deeply. While not the absolute best, he was among the elite. But even with all his skill, he was helpless before this formation, which proved how high the setter's skills must be. He'd once tried brute force, but instinctively sensed danger and stopped. He concluded the array must be the work of a supreme, and not an ordinary one. Its purpose was something special. So he had watched over this array, waiting until he met Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu approached the crack. It was barely larger than a palm. His soul sense naturally reached into it. The moment he did, he sensed a familiar aura and saw a chaos rune inside. This chaos rune was the creation of Catastrophe Supreme, only Lin Moyu could recognize it. Finding the rune confirmed he had not erred. The next steps were simple. This was not the array's true key, the trick was to decipher the rune, reveal the array, then unlock it. He'd done similar tasks several times before. The rune was not difficult for him. He casually drew several chaos runes, combining them to form a tiny formation. This formation was the key. As soon as it entered the chaos rune, the rune began to tremble. The tremor intensified, the crack in the sky grew bigger. The great array was about to reveal itself. Lin Moyu stepped back quickly to give it space. The crack widened, the chaos rune expanded, holding the gap open. At the same time, a strange aura circulated within the rune, tightly sealed off, not leaking. Even Lin Moyu could sense it only through his connection to the rune. This was the primordial power of the origin bug. Catastrophe Supreme had gathered power absorbed by the cross-domain array and funneled it here, sustaining this chaos rune. Once activated, the primordial force would shield the grand array, making it undetectable to the Tao of chaos. Meanwhile, because the power would not leak out, it would not attract ancient desolation beings like the Shadow Desolate Beast. Catastrophe Supreme's skill was truly profound. Even the Wine Sovereign couldn't sense the primordial force within the rune. The Wine Sovereign watched as the chaos rune cracked the sky open, slowly revealing the great array. He couldn't help but exclaim, "What incredible skill! The cultivation in array arts of this supreme must surpass the art itself." 4406. 4406. Chapter 4406, You Didn't Disappoint Me. The Wine Sovereign's meaning was clear. Catastrophe Supreme, just through array mastery alone, could already be considered a quasi-supreme. The amazement in his eyes was obvious. In his view, a supreme is perfect in every aspect, their understanding of a particular Tao having reached its peak but not yet surpassed the Tao itself. A quasi-supreme, however, would have surpassed the Tao in the path they cultivated, though other aspects remained imperfect compared to a supreme. For a supreme, perfection is the peak, the ultimate, with no further progression possible. That is not the path of a supreme. But what he saw in front of him overturned his understanding of supremes in the Tao. Amidst his awe, he muttered, "How could such a supreme set up this kind of formation? It shouldn't be possible." Lin Moyu asked, "Why do you say that, senior?" The Wine Sovereign promptly explained his doubts, and Lin Moyu realized the problem too. The Wine Sovereign's confusion was something Lin Moyu had never considered. From all appearances, there were only two possibilities. Either the Wine Sovereign misunderstood the Tao, the Supreme is perfect, but not beyond the Tao. Or, the person who laid this formation wasn't just Catastrophe Supreme, but at least had another quasi-supreme who'd surpassed array mastery. However, looking again, the formation was clearly the work of a single person, Catastrophe Supreme. If there were traces of another, Lin Moyu would have noticed. So only one possibility remained. Catastrophe Supreme, in terms of arrays, had surpassed the Tao and become a quasi-supreme. Quasi-supreme and supreme in one being, is that even possible? Both Lin Moyu and the Wine Sovereign were left pondering, but facts spoke for themselves. The Wine Sovereign was well versed in arrays and also saw that this grand formation was the work of a single person. He couldn't help sighing, "Perhaps my understanding is too shallow. Supremes can also be quasi-supremes. Supremes are not the limit." Lin Moyu fully agreed. Supreme is not the end. Above even a quasi-supreme, there is still the Tao. But clearly, the Wine Sovereign hadn't reached that stage. When Catastrophe Supreme made his arrangements, the Wine Sovereign wasn't strong enough to even be considered upon. Lin Moyu's thoughts differed. While the Wine Sovereign marveled at the Supreme, Lin Moyu wondered just how many methods Catastrophe Supreme possessed. At the time, Catastrophe Supreme had experienced 9 ascensions, and was the strongest among Supremes. Yet, he seemed to have pursued other avenues simultaneously. Perhaps his skill in arrays was even higher than Lin Moyu imagined. What he had seen might not be all there was. The Wine Sovereign saw Lin Moyu's contemplation and thought he was strategizing about how to break the formation. He didn't interrupt, just silently waited. After living for countless years, patience was his greatest virtue. Waiting a few hundred years was nothing to him. In his eyes, even spending centuries breaking this formation would be normal. If it were left to him, even thousands or tens of thousands of years would not be enough. The complexity of this formation was above anything he'd ever seen, completely beyond his skill. But after a brief pause, Lin Moyu stopped pondering. He knew just thinking would never get him the answer. If you wanted answers, you had to reach Catastrophe Supreme's level, then you might understand. No sense in thinking more, let's begin. Lin Moyu shook his head gently and began to draw chaos runes. The Wine Sovereign hadn't expected Lin Moyu to act so quickly and was stunned. He wanted to ask, "Are you really ready?" but didn't wish to disturb him. Lin Moyu skillfully drew Chaos God runes, one after another, assembling small arrays, then he combined 10 small arrays into 10 larger ones. Watching Lin Moyu shape the formations, the Wine Sovereign felt a hint of familiarity. The grand array Lin Moyu set up was different from the one before him, yet there was an intricate connection. The Wine Sovereign sensed Lin Moyu's approach was correct. He could indeed solve the grand array. Lin Moyu's array skill was astonishing, far beyond what his cultivation level should allow. The Wine Sovereign could only say, a Supreme's chosen successor truly was extraordinary. After he'd finished one formation, Lin Moyu didn't stop, but pulled out ingredients, refining them into array discs. He kept building arrays, making each into a disc, 5 arrays in all. Satisfied, Lin Moyu arranged the 5 discs in front of him. Done. The Wine Sovereign asked, "Little friend, your array skill is truly impressive." Lin Moyu answered, "Senior flatters me, arrays are all I know, nothing else." The Wine Sovereign laughed with great ease. "No need for modesty, I already said, with your talent, you'll certainly become a Supreme one day. Even if not, Quasi-Supreme is easily within reach." He now valued Lin Moyu even more. The young man's performance in every aspect was flawless. Lin Moyu set the 5 array discs flying to the grand array's 5 corners. Activating, they locked into place like chess pieces. The Catastrophe Supreme's grand array suddenly came alive, radiating colored light. An invisible force struck Lin Moyu, and in an instant he vanished, reappearing inside the array the next moment. This force originated from primordial power. Even the Wine Sovereign didn't react in time. Catastrophe Supreme's foresight was meticulous. This array could only be entered by the one who broke the code. No one could follow behind. The Wine Sovereign immediately understood, choosing to stand guard outside and protect Lin Moyu. Entering the array, Lin Moyu found the inner world utterly changed. The real core could only be seen from inside, not out. He carefully observed the core details, every trace showing Catastrophe Supreme's hand. 12 great arrays, all power gathering here. No, not just here, there's another place. The 4 extremes and 3 domains make 7 arrays, add 4 cross-domain arrays, 11 arrays in chaos, all power focused here. But the grand array in ancient desolation was the final keystone of all 12. Yet even so, Lin Moyu noticed that some gathered power also flowed elsewhere. Although Catastrophe Supreme was cautious, he couldn't hide it from Lin Moyu. At one core area, Lin Moyu pressed down on an inconspicuous spot. At that same moment, a drop of his own blood fell into his palm, transforming into a chaos rune. Instantly, he vanished, passing into the final, true core of the array. A voice rang out beside his ear, "You really did find it. You didn't disappoint me." Ko-fi.com/translate-toki. Only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to patreon.com/translate-toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. 4407. 4407. Chapter 4407. You are different, very different. The core region of the formation hid another space. If Lin Moyu hadn't been so familiar with Catastrophe Supreme's methods, it would have been nearly impossible to find. He understood this was Catastrophe Supreme's safeguard. Even a Supreme would have trouble discovering it. Attempting to force it would cause the Grand Formation to self-destruct. When the array self-destructed, all the primordial power gathered over countless years would detonate at once. This was power beyond the 4th level. A small amount was negligible, but if amassed, not even a Supreme could withstand it. Catastrophe Supreme was confident no one would try it. Any Supreme would sense the danger in advance and give up, just as the Wine Sovereign had done before. Moreover, Catastrophe Supreme had allies. He was never alone. The plans laid over eons had always been methodically progressing. Upon entering the true core, Lin Moyu heard Catastrophe Supreme's voice while observing his surroundings. All around, clusters of mist floated, each about 10 meters in diameter, like a skyful of stars, their numbers beyond counting. They looked harmless, but inside each was a reserve of primordial power. Each cluster's explosion would be enough to kill a full completion cultivator. Here, there were at least hundreds of thousands. Lin Moyu sensed the space teemed with spatial energy. He guessed it was divided into countless subspaces, each a giant warehouse for primordial power. If all this primordial power detonated at once, never mind full completion experts, even Supremes would be forced to flee. Countless ages of accumulation. You're trying to turn quantitative change into qualitative change. He sighed, looking up at a statue within the formation's void. Here, too, stood a faceless statue, Catastrophe Supreme. Seeing it again, Lin Moyu felt strange. The featureless face seemed Catastrophe Supreme's last act of respect to Dao. With a scraping sound, the faceless statue turned toward Lin Moyu. What do you think? Lin Moyu shook his head. It's probably not enough, but I know you must have another move in reserve. Catastrophe Supreme laughed. I knew you'd see through it. Lin Moyu said, that's because you never intended to hide it from me. Now let me ask, do you really think it's enough? Catastrophe Supreme was the only one to have fought Dao, and knew its strength best. Catastrophe Supreme didn't answer, which in itself was an answer. He wasn't confident. He lowered his voice. The fact you found your way here means you must already know something. How are those two coming along? You mean these two? Lin Moyu waved, revealing the phantoms of Chaos Child and the Chaos Ancestral Tree. He knew exactly who Catastrophe Supreme meant. Catastrophe Supreme spoke gravely. When we searched through ancient desolation, we discovered that long ago, someone had already fought it. We tried to trace back through broken time, digging through the erased history, and found clues. We attempted to seek those wiped out years, find the severed ages, and in the end, we found them. Once, they were unimaginably powerful and ancient, but after an incident, they were injured, forced into slumber, unable to recover. We devised a method, and perhaps it will help them recover. Lin Moyu said, so giving them to me was your method? Yes, said Catastrophe Supreme. Find them a master, let them accompany that master's growth, retracing their old path. It's their only hope of truly recovering. But there's a cost. They lose their freedom, becoming bound to another's will. Lin Moyu said, everything comes at a price. That's karma. But what exactly are they? Catastrophe Supreme shook his head. That's not for you to ask. As their master, you should know better than we do. Lin Moyu snorted, don't you think you're gambling? Catastrophe Supreme replied, some things can only be gambled on. Take a risk and you might win. Don't, and you're guaranteed to lose. Lin Moyu almost objected. If you don't gamble, you don't lose. But thinking of Dao, he realized not gambling meant certain defeat. Though the statue lacked a face, Lin Moyu felt it was smiling at him for understanding. He continued, one more question. You had reached the supreme limit, how did you become a quasi-supreme? Catastrophe Supreme burst out laughing. The primordial energy swirled like swaying stars. What's so funny? Lin Moyu asked. Catastrophe Supreme said, who says a supreme can't also be a quasi-supreme? Are they in conflict? Lin Moyu was briefly speechless. Catastrophe Supreme was right. Just because you reach supreme, why not take other paths? Rules are chains placed by others. Why always obey? Catastrophe Supreme said, a supreme is the absolute of the chaotic Tao, the third level, ultimate perfection. A quasi-supreme is the imperfect peak. When you reach supreme, you'll see, the quasi-supreme path is also yours to tread. When I realized all this, it was too late. He had noticed me and I never got another chance. Hide, learn to conceal yourself, break your shackles in one push. When you're near his level, plus what you already possess, victory will be within reach. Otherwise, it's almost hopeless. His strength you can't even imagine. He gets endless chances, you may only get one. But you might be different. Maybe you get more than one chance, maybe you get many. Too many sages lost everything on this road, too many. You are different, genuinely different. Lin Moyu listened intently. The details Catastrophe Supreme revealed were deeply significant. But his voice began trailing off, as if not wanting to say too much, yet wishing to convey something vital. Lin Moyu pushed further. How am I different? Catastrophe Supreme stopped his murmurings, then slowly answered, it's not time yet, it's not time. Some things you must sense for yourself. You are our hope, maybe our only hope. If karma is real, if destiny is real, maybe this time we win. Maybe we really will win. His tone was full of uncertainty. There was confidence, yet also hesitation. The defeat long ago had left a mark. Lin Moyu replied, at the very least, I'll do my best. Let's start refining the array. Some things, I'll have to discover for myself. 4408. 4408. Chapter 4408. From Ancient Desolation to Chaos. Lin Moyu began refining the grand array, a task now second nature, requiring almost no effort. He was even able to split his focus, simultaneously refining the pure water provided by Chaos Child and chatting with Catastrophe Supreme. Through several contacts with Catastrophe Supreme's lingering will, Lin Moyu noticed a pattern. Though all those consciousnesses came from the Supreme, there were subtle differences between them. Perhaps, after endless years, each fragment of will had evolved a trace of independent thought. This was unsurprising. Each wisp of Catastrophe Supreme's will equaled an ordinary Chaos Realm expert. Thus, these various wills displayed distinct personalities. The will Lin Moyu encountered this time especially enjoyed conversation right from the start. He was talkative, sometimes sighing aloud to himself like an old man. As Lin Moyu chatted with Catastrophe Supreme, he gleaned snippets about the past. Catastrophe Supreme upheld certain boundaries. What shouldn't be said, he wouldn't say. But Lin Moyu could infer much from their roundabout discussions. Their faction was sizable, not just visible allies but secret operatives as well, all to avoid being wiped out in one strike. Everyone around Catastrophe Supreme was unwilling to be ruled or enslaved by Tao. They wanted to resist. Upon discovering the existence of Tao, they began searching for its source, believing all things must have an origin. Over endless years, they found many clues and pieced together a theory. Long before them, many had resisted Tao. Tao had once tried to enslave all of chaos, but was stopped, even injured. But over the vast epochs, Tao eventually recovered and would attempt once again to enslave all chaos and even swallow ancient desolation. This realization drove Catastrophe Supreme and allies to resist with all their strength. If not for that, perhaps they would merely have tried to catch up, not rebel. Catastrophe Supreme's deductions came from their discoveries. Lin Moyu, conversing with him, inferred the same though neither had solid proof. In truth, there was evidence: Chaos Child and the Chaos Ancestral Tree. According to Catastrophe Supreme, those two have something to do with it. Lin Moyu remembered the first time he learned of Tao's existence. He was shocked, but Little Tree Chaos Ancestral Tree was much calmer, so was Chaos Child after learning. Maybe, the answers lie with them, Lin Moyu thought, though he hoped they would volunteer the truth, not be pressured. He knew if they were silent, they had their reasons, perhaps reasons that could not be spoken. Several days later, Lin Moyu finished refining the grand array. Catastrophe Supreme's aura subtly shifted. He seemed to have fulfilled his mission, with a sense of release. A spatial passage opened behind the blank-faced statue. He was ready to leave. My mission is complete. What follows is up to you. Lin Moyu smiled. I'll do my best. After all our talks, is there nothing more you want to tell me? Good luck to us all, the statue said and vanished into the passage. This phase of the statue's mission was over, but the next had yet to begin. Catastrophe Supreme's plan was only just beginning. Once Lin Moyu finished refining the array, 12 points of light in his soul world brightened and grew clearer in position. He could now sense the locations of the other arrays with much greater accuracy. This array was the core of the whole set, meant to be the last refined, but he had refined it ahead of schedule. Regardless, with this keystone, tracking down the other arrays would be far easier. After Catastrophe Supreme departed, Lin Moyu found himself alone in the array's core. All was quiet. He took time to sense the grand array. Now he could see its form, which matched or exceeded his expectations. Catastrophe Supreme had turned all of chaos into a single weapon, using the 11 arrays to connect chaotic realms, gather their power here, and then launch attacks from ancient desolation. The array's attack force was divided in three. One part came from chaotic Tao, one from the primordial force of the origin bug, and a third part elsewhere, likely with Tien Zuzi and others. As for why power was split this way and why attacks must be launched from ancient desolation, Lin Moyu now understood, thanks to his discussions with Catastrophe Supreme. Tao controls chaos. If struck from within, it would be as if using its own hand to slap itself absurd. So the attack must originate in ancient desolation, draw chaos's strength, strike Tao from outside, not only attacking Tao, but also weakening chaos's power. For ordinary cultivators, chaos's power is inexhaustible, yet for supremes, there's a limit. Besides chaos's force, the power of the origin bug is required. Primordial force is of the same tier as Tao, but a single bug's strength is minuscule, even gathered, not much. Yet when amassed over countless years, it can become significant. That was 2 parts. Lin Moyu didn't know the third, but judged it must also be formidable. This was the fruit of infinite planning by many. Lin Moyu was a vital part, but not the only one. He withdrew his mind from the formation, entered his soul world. You too, is there anything you want to tell me? He didn't want to force an answer, though he knew if he insisted, Chaos Child and Little Tree would comply. But he preferred they speak of their own accord. Chaos Child and Little Tree both took human form, exchanged a glance, clear hesitation. At last, Chaos Child whispered, "Why don't you say it? I'll just mess it up." With that, he ducked into the Chaos Pearl, refusing to come out. It was obvious he and Little Tree had already signaled each other. Little Tree snorted, "Coward, so afraid of karma." Lin Moyu said, "If it's hard, then don't." Little Tree shook his head, "We don't even know if it's hard. The karma involved is just too vast. After all these years, we aren't sure if it's settled. We originally planned to wait until you reached Supreme, but since you're asking." Lin Moyu cut him off, "Hold on." He took out the causality ring, sent soul power into it, activated the ring. Effect without cause. His thoughts surged into the ring. For the next day, whatever happened or was said in his soul world would not be entangled by karma. He intended to banish karma. Violent backlash surged. Lin Moyu was instantly blown to pieces. 4409. 4409. Chapter 4409. The Hidden Power of Rebirth. The backlash from causality surged wildly. Lin Moyu had never encountered such a furious reaction before. The cause-seeking ring buzzed, rumbling like muffled thunder. So immense, this causality. Causality is mysterious, shapeless and intangible, yet omnipresent. It merges with fate, flows through time, present in every action, every word, every thought. Causality can shift at any time, changing with deeds and events, ever changing. It feels as if it has no bottom, but also possesses stunning principles, unshakable. This time, what Lin Moyu wanted Little Tree to reveal involved enormous causality so grand that not even Chaos Child dared speak, fearing a slip of the tongue. Thus, he used the cause-seeking ring, and the backlash it generated was unprecedentedly fierce, shocking Lin Moyu to the core. Life after life, death after death, he died more than a dozen times, but the backlash didn't lessen. Lin Moyu sensed he might have sowed the seed of his own destruction. Fortunately, after Little Tree's recent transformation, Lin Moyu's new life tally had soared past 5,000, which should be enough. Hopefully it's enough, he thought, but wasn't too sure. When being blown apart becomes routine, dying is a joke, and the so-called great terror between life and death is finally nothing. Lin Moyu felt he had truly become indifferent to it. Live or die, what difference does it make? He'd always skirted the edge of death, best to just get used to it. 100 rebirths later, the backlash was still undiminished. This proved how terrifying the fruit he had planted was. Perhaps it touched on a true secret. In the past, 10 or so deaths for a single fruit was already a lot. Never before had he died 100 times for one. Now, 100 deaths was only the beginning. There was no end in sight. Little Tree quietly watched Lin Moyu shatter and revive, again and again. The only thing he could do was absorb and convert as much power as possible to fuel more rebirths, just in case. He had no idea how many rebirths Lin Moyu would need this time. He could only do his best to help increase them. 200, 400, 800. Lin Moyu was speechless. What could possibly cause such backlash? What causality required so much death? Somewhere through this cycle, he sensed something different. After the 5th rebirth, upon forming a new body, he noticed that his physical body had become stronger. Not just his body, his soul had grown stronger, too. As a Chaos Realm minor completion cultivator, he was acutely aware of the slightest change in himself, even the tiniest improvement could not escape his notice. This was genuine, fundamental strengthening, not just a raw power increase, but a change at the very core. Such a change was infinitely more valuable than simple power. There are many ways to gain strength: advanced cultivation, alchemy, treasures, formations. But to truly enhance the essence of body or soul is exceedingly rare. Most treasures confer only temporary boosts. The higher the realm, the more precious are these fundamental changes. How can this be? Although the gain was just 1%, it was real. He'd undergone countless rebirths before, but had never noticed anything like this, not due to oversight, but because it had never happened. Perplexed, he continued to die and revive. No further change came until the 600th new life. Suddenly, both body and soul strengthened again. Once more, it was just 1% stacked atop the last improvement. That made the actual increase about 0.3% greater than after the first time. The numbers sounded small, but if they accumulated, it would be no small figure. In these elevated realms, even a tiny increase is invaluable. If a treasure could permanently raise the essence of body and soul by even 1%, countless full completion experts would risk war for it. Even Supremes might take action. Again stronger. Is it triggered by the number of rebirths? Twice now, the pattern was clear: the 5th and 6th hundreds, first at 500, then 6, each time at an interval of 100. That couldn't be coincidence. This was a rule. He'd thought the rebirth talent came entirely from Little Tree, just an ability inherited from the Chaos Ancestral Tree. But now it seemed otherwise. If Little Tree truly bestowed this ability, he would possess it himself, but he did not. So where did the rebirth talent originate from, and why was it tied to Little Tree, finally ending up with Lin Moyu? Death and rebirth repeated. Lin Moyu studied his body and soul's changes with each cycle. Through the next dozens of rebirths, there was no further strengthening until the 700th. Again, another 1% boost applied on top of the last. 5, 6, 700, all at intervals of 100. Now the pattern was unmistakable. Every 100 rebirths brought a new power up. If the cycle continued, his body and soul could essentially become infinitely stronger. Even without raising his cultivation, his fighting strength would rise dramatically. While this increase didn't directly affect his magic, it was still more valuable. Magic can be countered or restricted, but body and soul are the true foundation. This discovery gave Lin Moyu new ideas for his path, to push both cultivation and his essence together. At the 800th rebirth, the pattern repeated again: body and soul grew stronger. He was now certain. This was a hidden ability of the rebirth talent, only activated under specific conditions. In truth, he'd never have noticed it before entering the Chaos Realm. His tally of rebirths was never high enough to activate it. Everything had changed since entering Chaos. At the 900th, another strengthening. Only after reaching 1,000 rebirths did the backlash of the cause-seeking ring finally begin to ebb. He'd been strengthened 6 times. Now, Lin Moyu almost hoped it would continue a bit longer, so he could grow stronger still. A voice from Little Tree broke in. "Master, your body and soul seem to have grown stronger." As Lin Moyu was being reborn, he replied, "Yes, I'll tell you why in a moment." But before he could finish, he was shattered once again. Death followed rebirth, over and over pain, but also joy, as his essence transformed. Finally, after 1,867 deaths, the backlash was spent, and the fruit was planted. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Dear readers, sigh, I want to take a moment to be open with you. Some of you may have noticed that chapter releases have been a little delayed recently. The truth is, I've been facing some difficult challenges both at work and within my family, including some serious health concerns. Out of respect for privacy, I won't go into details, but I hope you can understand that it's been a lot to balance. As much as I love sharing this story with you, Many of the struggles I'm facing ultimately come down to financial pressure. After a lot of thought, I've made the tough decision to delay releases here by about a day, and at times possibly longer, while offering earlier access on Patreon. This isn't a choice I make lightly. It does feel a little selfish, and I sincerely apologize if it disappoints anyone. My hope is that this change will ease some of my burdens and allow me to keep posting with consistency. That said, please know there is absolutely no obligation to join Patreon. I completely understand if you'd rather continue reading here, or even elsewhere. Your support, simply by enjoying my work, already means so much to me. I've been on this journey with you for nearly 2 years now, and your patience, kindness, and encouragement are what keep me going. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for sticking with me through the ups and downs. I'm truly grateful for every single one of you. Asterisk 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 4410, Chapter 4410, Little Tree's Memory. Chapter 4410, Little Tree's Memory. It's finally over. Lin Moyu, cloaked in purple light, spoke softly with a trace of regret in his voice. It was as if he lamented the end of the cycle of rebirth, if only he could experience a few more. More than a third of Little Tree's accumulated 5,000 rebirth opportunities had been used, leaving less than 4,000. Still, 4,000 is more than enough under normal circumstances, though now Little Tree can't keep accumulating them. Lin Moyu asked, "Isn't it strange that both my body and soul have become stronger?" Little Tree nodded. "It is very confusing. Through this latest session of rebirth, which lasted less than an hour in total, Lin Moyu's body and soul had increased by 14%, a massive leap for someone of Chaos Realm minor completion. In terms of soul power alone, he was now approaching Chaos Realm great completion. But Lin Moyu's actual cultivation level hadn't changed, which Little Tree found baffling. If Lin Moyu's growth was just tied to rebirth, why hadn't this happened before? Lin Moyu said, "It was accidental. I only noticed the first boost after 500 rebirths. Each subsequent 100 rebirths brought another slight improvement." Little Tree said, "So, you're saying, if rebirth is triggered more than 500 consecutive times, it unlocks some hidden ability?" Lin Moyu replied, "That's how it looks. If there's another chance, I'll test it again." "Still, wasn't this ability something you gave me? Not even you knew?" Little Tree shook his round head. "That's your talent, Master. I'm just a vessel for it." "Huh." Lin Moyu was briefly stunned. "My talent came from you, didn't it?" He remembered gaining 3 flames of talent fragments of Little Tree's previous self when he split into 6 parts. Later, the system optimized those talents, and that's when the invaluable rebirth ability had appeared. He had always thought this talent originated from Little Tree. But Little Tree shook his head. "No, it's yours. I'm just the carrier. I've always known that." The information did not match up. Everyone had their own impression. Lin Moyu said, "Then explain, what's your understanding of this talent?" Little Tree described his experience. When he first came to be, even before he had a will, this talent already existed. It belonged to Lin Moyu, not to him. He was just a container, a sort of steward. All the energy required for the talent was drawn from him whether he wanted it or not. Whenever the talent was used, his power was immediately used to replenish it. He couldn't stop this from happening. In Little Tree's view, the talent was Lin Moyu's, but it became a part of him as well, though 10% of his power was always reserved for fueling the rebirth ability. He could help Lin Moyu accumulate rebirths faster, but could never stop the number from increasing. He finished his explanation. Lin Moyu grew pensive by Little Tree's account. The talent ultimately came from the system. The system had been gone for countless years. The last time it appeared was when Lin Moyu entered the Great World, and it hadn't shown up since. What the system was, how it related to him, where it went, these remained a mystery. Lin Moyu puzzled over it, but gave up. It doesn't matter. What matters is that after 500 rebirths, both the body and soul become stronger. Little Tree, you focus on accumulating more rebirths, and I'll use the cause-seeking ring to plant some difficult effects to further strengthen my body and soul. That was Molinu's plan, a risky one. Planting a fruit too hard might cost him his life. Too easy, and he couldn't get enough rebirths for strengthening. After all, the first 499 rebirths are wasted. He needed at least 500, but more is better. 1,000 or 2,000 is ideal. Lin Moyu continued, let's not worry about that for now. The fruit is planted, you can start. What really happened all those years ago? Little Tree was clearly still hesitant, but since Lin Moyu had asked directly, and planted the fruit, he had no choice but to answer. It's not that I didn't want to tell you, Master. Some things touch enormous karma, and saying too much could hurt you. Also, neither I nor Chaos Child has fully recovered our memories, only about 70%. If we combine what we've recovered, it's about 80%. The real core matters, we still don't know. We wanted to wait until you reached Supreme, then tell you more. A very long time ago, actually, it's wrong to call it time. There wasn't a clear definition of years back then. It was a prehistoric era. The structure of chaos and ancient desolation was already fixed, and multitudes of beings proliferated in both realms. Beings of chaos were a bit weaker physically than those of ancient desolation, but their intelligence was higher, so they banded together for greater collective power. In ancient desolation, lone warriors were the norm, but there were a few groups. I was the first tree born from chaos, known as the Chaos Ancestral Tree, the forebear of all trees in chaos. In my prime, my branches, leaves, seeds, roots, and stems reached into every corner of chaos, touching every domain. I became one of the true peaks. Chaos Child was the first domain seed of ancient desolation, but never transformed into a domain or a domain beast. Instead, he absorbed a massive amount of chaotic energy and remade himself into the Chaos Pearl. The Chaos Pearl contains its own world, a near-perfect replica of chaos and ancient desolation. In his world, Chaos Child created domains, birthed life, and nurtured powerhouses he dreamed of turning into another chaos, ancient desolation. At that time, realms like ours existed in abundance. But then, here, Little Tree hesitated, eyes growing thoughtful. His memory wasn't complete, a lot was missing. Their memories were self-sealed. Lin Moyu knew the missing pieces must be the most important parts. What Little Tree now described was partly his own restored memory and partly things he had learned from Chaos Child's recollections. After a moment's thought, Little Tree seemed to make up his mind. After an unknown time, chaos and ancient desolation started fighting each other. Why the war started we haven't recalled. What we do know is that it was brutal, with countless casualties. I don't know if I took part. How long it lasted I'm not sure. Maybe I was involved, maybe not. I only know that many perished, and it was all over one thing. To read ahead, subscribe to my Patreon. 4411, Chapter 4411, A Single Flower. Chapter 4411, A Single Flower. A single thing. Little Tree didn't call it a magic treasure or any other kind of treasure, just a thing, meaning his memory of that part hadn't fully recovered. The catastrophe scepter appeared in Lin Moyu's hand. Was it this? Little Tree shook his head. I don't think so. Lin Moyu asked with surprise, you're that sure? Little Tree furrowed his brow, searching his memory. His youthful face radiated deep age. He'd lived since an era so ancient it predated time itself, survived nearly being erased, but now he was regaining himself. After thinking a long while, Little Tree shook his head again. I really don't think so. I have no memory of it, none at all. I talked about it with Chaos Child, and he has no recollection either. So it wasn't for that. Go on. Lin Moyu put away the scepter and waited for the story to continue. Little Tree continued, I still don't remember what that thing was, but it threw all of chaos and ancient desolation into upheaval. It appeared then so powerful that it suppressed everyone, killed countless, and eventually stood unrivaled. If I'm right, it must have obtained that thing and used it to claim its place. Chaos Child and I think, were both gravely wounded at that time. We chose to disassemble ourselves to survive. Disassembly was an immense risk, but we had no choice. Lin Moyu interrupted, didn't you say you don't remember participating in the war? But that war was fought for this thing. If neither of you took part, how were you both so badly hurt? Little Tree shook his head. That memory isn't back yet. Even if I didn't join the war, I could have tried to get the item. Fighting in the war was one thing, fighting for the object was another. He could have waited and only made a move at the end, and Chaos Child the same, so not all were on the battlefield at first. Lin Moyu said, so you and it are from the same era? Yes, the same era. That's why, when you discovered its existence, I wasn't surprised. It he spoke of was, of course, Tao, though Little Tree still dared not say it aloud. But there are things Chaos Child and I still don't understand. It seems like something went wrong with it. Based on my understanding, after it mastered chaos, it should have swallowed ancient desolation and united everything, but it never did. I don't know what happened afterward. Lin Moyu said, there must be a reason, but that doesn't matter. What does all this have to do with causality? Little Tree shook his head. It's everything. Chaos Child and I come from different sources. Our every act stirs the great Tao of chaos. That's why we sealed our own memories. If we hadn't, it would have found us. Even exchanging information, we had to be careful, always avoiding taboo topics and substituting other languages for risky words. If not for your shielding of causality, I wouldn't dare say any of this now. Mentioning that thing or the war would rouse the Tao and then it would find us. Lin Moyu asked, but one day your memories will fully return, and the Tao will sense it. What then? We've considered it. Our only option is to suppress ourselves until you're strong enough to fight it. We can't fully recover or regain full strength until then. If either of us rejoins the Tao, we'll be found and erased. Little Tree is the Chaos Ancestral Tree, the first tree of chaos, master of many Taos including time and space. Without returning to the Tao, he can never regain his peak, and if he does, the Tao will notice. Chaos Child faces the same fate. So, they've pinned their hopes on Lin Moyu. Only when he can stand against the Tao will they return fully. Shameful, Chaos Child's voice suddenly broke in. He didn't know when he'd emerged, face scrunched in dismay. Once we were the strongest, now we only survive by shattering ourselves. Little Tree replied, there's no shame in it. If you're outmatched, at least we survived. Of all our old friends, how many are left? Little Tree's friends weren't ordinary cultivators, but other beings of vast power, firsts of their kind, creatures born of chaos and ancient desolation, but almost all of them are gone. Chaos Child said, they're all dead now but still not quite gone. Some managed to leave something behind. Lin Moyu understood. He took out the cause-seeking ring. Like this. Chaos Child replied, roughly. My memory's not back, but I can guess. That thing must have been one of us who tried for that thing and lost its mind, wiped, only the item remains. Lin Moyu finally understood the cause-seeking ring's origins, a treasure born of heaven and earth, master of causality, standing atop the causal Tao. As its physical form awakened sentience, it shaped itself, and ultimately fell in the struggle for the great item, leaving only its body. No wonder it's so powerful. It was always an existence standing atop causality. Besides the cause-seeking ring, other treasures from that era still exist, most the residue of that ancient war. What was the thing you all fought for? Lin Moyu asked. Little Tree shook his head. That's still sealed away, maybe out of fear, we locked it up especially deep. Chaos Child said, I can't remember exactly, but I can show its rough shape. He conjured an apparition, an image of a flower. But this flower was bizarre. Countless petals, large and small, folded upon each other, layers within layers, endless. Lin Moyu had seen many types of flowers, but never one like this. Boom! The array's core shook violently, even the soul world trembled. Thunder echoed from beyond the soul world as Little Tree's face paled. Stop! Chaos Child was startled, his illusion vanished instantly. Wasn't causality blocked? He thought the Tao had discovered them, since he'd crossed a line. Little Tree was terrified, worried for Lin Moyu most of all. If we're found, none of us will survive, but master is what matters most. Chaos Child glared at him, hey, Fat Tree, isn't now the time for some flattery? Lin Moyu was much calmer. In the core of the array his body opened its eyes, instantly understanding the real cause. Outside the array, the Wine Sovereign was engaged in a fierce battle, causing all the thunder. Lin Moyu assured them, someone's fighting the Wine Sovereign, don't worry. Chaos Child exhaled deeply, scared me to death. Little Tree huffed, coward. I'm worried for Master. If we die, but he's irreplaceable. Chaos Child rolled his eyes at Little Tree, you fat tree, not even trying to curry favor at a time like this. To read ahead, subscribe to my Patreon. 4412. Chapter 4412, Protecting Lin Little Friend. Chapter 4412, Protecting Lin Little Friend, was the object for which countless top experts of that era fought a flower. Actually, Chaos Child hadn't yet fully regained his memory. The only reason he knew it was a flower was that there were 18 corpses in his inner world. These corpses had all been supremes or quasi-supremes, though just powerhouses in his inner world, not the true powerhouses of chaos or ancient desolation. You could think of these experts as Chaos Child's followers once. They'd fought for him, and they had witnessed that flower. Recently, through their lingering memories, Chaos Child had learned some details, including the image of the flower. He still couldn't be sure. Without Lin Moyu blocking causality, he wouldn't have dared to even mention this. Even so, those memories were fragmented. He truly didn't know exactly what that flower was. Lin Moyu didn't pursue it any further. Everything that could be said had been said. Now he knew what had happened back then. These two, once unmatched beings who had disassembled themselves to survive, were now bound to him. Their fates and his were one. If he died, they could not survive. That meant Lin Moyu could fully trust them. Even if they regained all memories and might, betrayal was impossible. He never used any methods to control them. He thought that would be unnecessary and even insulting. Trust is sometimes a strange kind of power. This time, his harvest was immense. Learning the past was only one part. The real gain was discovering, by chance, that surviving 500 consecutive rebirths strengthened body and soul. This led to a whole new possible path. If he could continue, his future would be limitless. He also pondered his rebirth talent. Was it truly from the system? Why did he have a system at all? What even was a system, a thing full of technological flair, and where did it come from? Answers led to further mysteries. The world hid too many secrets. Lin Moyu returned to his body, feeling his much strengthened flesh and soul as he left the formation's core. Outside the array, a fierce battle raged. The Wine Sovereign gripped his wine gourd in his left hand, drinking between strikes, while his sword howled through the air. He faced three opponents, all full completion cultivators, all from chaos. They were nearly equal to the Wine Sovereign in power, and together fought him to a standstill. Lin Moyu did not leave the array. He wasn't qualified to join such a fight. Even the aftermath would be lethal. He watched from the protection of the formation, a mere spectator. After observing for a while, Lin Moyu noticed that the Wine Sovereign wasn't using his full strength, likely not even 60%. He was clearly waiting, sometimes glancing toward another direction. It seemed he was waiting for someone, the real enemy, the one still hiding. The three are just bait. The real foe hasn't shown himself. But how did they find Wine Sovereign in this vast land? Clearly, there's something suspicious here. Lin Moyu quickly worked out many things. The Wine Sovereign drank and swept his sword, the domain treasure sending out endless sword light and pushing the three back. He glanced toward the grand array, saw Lin Moyu, and smiled before looking back into the void. Old bug, how long do you plan to hide? Don't think I won't kill if you keep this up. A cold laugh came from the void. So that's why you're staying guarding this little fellow. Is this boy your disciple? Didn't know you took on students. A black-robed old man appeared, his aura powerful, nearly equal to the Wine Sovereign. A scar ran across his face, centipede-like and hideous. Lin Moyu realized the other had mistaken him for the Wine Sovereign's disciple, thinking Wine Sovereign stood guard for his sake. Wine Sovereign's earlier glance only reinforced this. Indeed, Wine Sovereign made it clear he remained to protect Lin Moyu. Most people wanted to sever ties, but Wine Sovereign insisted on forcing ties. Yet he wouldn't go out of his way for just anyone. His regard meant he thought highly of Lin Moyu. He was no fool. Unless benefit was involved, he rarely acted. The two had just met, shared a drink and a chat, hardly the stuff of sworn brotherhood. It was simply a win-win arrangement. If Lin Moyu succeeded in the future, perhaps he could help Wine Sovereign. If Wine Sovereign triumphed, he might help in return. So Lin Moyu accepted. Why refuse? Facing the scarred elder, Wine Sovereign tipped back his wine. Old centipede, Lin isn't my disciple, but you're right, I'm staying here to protect him. Cold light flickered in Old Centipede's eyes, his murderous intent on Lin Moyu. Lin, he's just chaos minor completion trash. You make friends with such waste. You must be senile. Wine Sovereign was unconcerned. You have a choice. Take your 3 dogs and get out now, or I'll unsheath my sword and butcher dogs today. He spoke with drunken arrogance, not giving Old Centipede any face. His 3 full completion subordinates called 3 dogs, by Wine Sovereign flushed with killing intent, but deferentially held back because Old Centipede was present. Old Centipede sneered. To the end, you're still spouting nonsense. Today you die, and so does that trash behind you. The formation will be mine as well. He threw out a triangular array disk that expanded into a massive formation, covering tens of millions of miles, including both Wine Sovereign and Lin Moyu's protected array. Wine Sovereign's 3 dogs, moved to the array's 3 corners. Old Centipede stood in the center. Wine Sovereign didn't even raise an eyebrow. Old Centipede, have you gone senile? You know I'm a master of formations. Do you really think this array? He was interrupted. Of course I know. But you might not be able to break this one. He activated 2 more discs, creating overlapping formations. The combined power and stability soared, making breaking through much harder. Terrifying pressure rolled over his Wine Sovereign's body, trembled and his aura faltered, but he showed no fear, calmly studying the array. If I'm not mistaken, this array was designed by fellow Taoist Ear East, wasn't it? To read ahead, subscribe to my Patreon. 4413, Chapter 4413, Killing Bugs and Slaying Dogs. Chapter 4413, Killing Bugs and Slaying Dogs. Though shrouded by the might of the formation and under its pressure, the Wine Sovereign appeared completely unbothered, making Old Centipede even angrier. He couldn't understand where the Wine Sovereign got such confidence even at this crucial moment. There wasn't a trace of panic. Not only that, even Lin Moyu, a mere chaos minor completion, trash, acted the same. Old Centipede growled coldly, if you know whose formation this is, you should know the consequence. The Wine Sovereign laughed. It's true, fellow Ear East's array is formidable, but do you really think that's enough to kill me? Let me tell you, even if Ear East showed up in person, a single formation would never be enough to do me in. Before Old Centipede could retort, the Wine Sovereign turned to Lin Moyu. Lin, what do you think of this array? Lin Moyu had been watching all along. 3 array discs overlapped to form the formation, multiplying its power. It was an interesting method if used to the extreme. You could overlap 3, 10, 100, even 1,000 arrays. But the more arrays stacked, the greater the power, yet the less the stability, an irreconcilable contradiction. From another perspective, if your power's overwhelming and you can kill instantly, sacrificing stability isn't necessarily a problem. Here, 3 arrays meant a doubling of power. It was strong, but not enough, in Lin Moyu's opinion, to hold down the Wine Sovereign. He answered honestly, it's decent. He didn't know who Ear East was, must be a master of arrays, stronger in formation arts than the Wine Sovereign, but compared to himself, maybe a bit inferior. Decent, made the Wine Sovereign roar with laughter. If it's only decent, think you can break it, little friend? Lin Moyu said, yes, but my own cultivation isn't enough. Senior, I'd need your aid. Hearing this, Old Centipede cackled, ignorant brat. A mere chaos minor completion, fool, such arrogance. Seeking death, are you? Lin Moyu ignored him. Shall we break it? The Wine Sovereign smiled, certainly break it. Good. Lin Moyu flicked his wrist, and in an instant, several chaos runes spun into a subtle formation. He slipped in a strange material, sent the formation flying to the Wine Sovereign. Senior, infuse this with your soul power and it'll open the lock. The Wine Sovereign's soul swept in, a torrent of power surged. Boom. The material exploded. It could only withstand the power of a chaos minor cultivator, far too weak for the Wine Sovereign. But as it shattered, the formation was triggered, almost as if stimulated by the fragments. The Wine Sovereign's soul force, through the shards, infiltrated the enemy array. Lin Moyu's simple-looking formation expanded, clashing with Old Centipede's triple-locked array. It was like sharp needles piercing the formation's fabric, unraveling its delicate structure. With a crisp crackle, the triple array instantly collapsed, splitting into 3 separate formations. How? Old Centipede was horrified. Such a powerful construct, broken so swiftly, unbelievable. But the break wasn't over. Disrupted, the arrays destabilized further thanks to Lin Moyu's trick and the Wine Sovereign's soul force. Cascading damage spread inside, the 3 formations crashed together and detonated. Billions of miles of void trembled, fractures lacing through everything. Old Centipede and his 3 men were hurled away, not harmed, but badly embarrassed. Seeing all this, the Wine Sovereign laughed louder. Lin's array skills exceeded my expectations. What a cause for a grand toast. Lin Moyu replied modestly, you flatter me. Without your help, I couldn't have broken it. The Wine Sovereign waved it off. Not at all. He raised his gourd, drinking deep. The fragrant wine mingled with his laughter, drifting through the void. On the other side, Old Centipede's face turned ugly. Lin Moyu was modest, but the Wine Sovereign knew, even if he'd done nothing, Lin Moyu could have broken the array solo, just with a bit more effort. Among formation experts, it's not about cultivation, but mastery. Lin Moyu's skill was clearly superior. Old Centipede gnashed his teeth, you little trash. Daring to meddle in my affairs. His glare toward Lin Moyu was murderous, as if wanting to rip him to pieces. Lin Moyu ignored him entirely, turning to the Wine Sovereign. So, Senior, what now? The Wine Sovereign smiled. I mostly wanted to see if the villain had any hidden tricks. He's out of ideas, so, let me show you how to kill bugs and slaughter dogs. The Wine Sovereign's expression grew grim, his fighting will thundering out to fill the sky. His full strength erupted, instantaneously solidifying massive swaths of space. It was as if the entire world became stone, every gap locked down. In such a space, even if someone had the power of space, it wouldn't help. By sheer fighting spirit, the Wine Sovereign froze all movement. His enemies had nowhere to run. Amazing, Lin Moyu gasped. He'd known the Wine Sovereign was powerful, but not to this extent. It became clear how much the Wine Sovereign had held back fighting the domain beasts he'd just been playing. A gleaming sword snapped to his hand, with a true domain emerging behind him, not illusion but reality. Unlike others, the Wine Sovereign kept his domain with him at all times. With his domain revealed, the domain treasure sword howled, its invisible sword chi shaking the air. Old Centipede grunted, his minions screamed. The unseen sword force drilled right into their souls, causing unspeakable agony. All four were shaken by this point. The Wine Sovereign hadn't even truly attacked, still, they were already on the verge of fleeing. But escape was impossible. The Wine Sovereign would not allow it. With a flick, he summoned, Sword Cuts the Tao. Blinding sword light, hundreds or thousands of times stronger than before, burst forth. The frozen void split as the sword energy shattered ancient desolation, sliced the great Tao, and destroyed souls. Nothing in its path was spared. Impossible. How can you be this strong? You've reached that level. It can't be. No. Quote. Screams and shrieks exploded, the first from Old Centipede, the others from his subordinates. After a few beats, the sword light faded. Lin Moyu, peering across the expanse, saw a gigantic centipede fleeing. That's Old Centipede's true form. So he was actually a myriapod monster. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Hey all, thanks to everyone for your support, especially those who subscribe to my Patreon. I know a lot of people don't like this and call it a cash grab, and if that's how you see it, I won't try to change your mind. In a way, it is, but trust me, I wouldn't do this if I had any other choice. The final verdict for the setup is this: the novel will be ahead on Patreon by 4 to 8 chapters, so readers on web novel will always be 4 to 8 chapters behind. I also know there are many people who aren't in a position to donate to my Patreon, and I understand. This is the best solution available. I hope you can understand the decision I've made. You don't have to like it, but I do hope you'll respect it. Asterisk 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 asterisk. To read ahead, subscribe to my Patreon. 4414, Chapter 4414, The Toy is Gone. Chapter 4414, The Toy is Gone. Lin Moyu had seen myriapods before, creatures of ancient desolation, but this old centipede came from chaos, so how could his true form be a myriapod? Old Centipede, in his original body, fled after that sword. Wine Sovereign's attack left him badly wounded. Some severed limbs and fragments of his carapace were left behind in the empty ancient desolation, and from afar Lin Moyu saw that he'd nearly been sliced in half. As for his 3 henchmen, none survived. They had all become corpses. They weren't human. Upon death their true forms were exposed, 3 dog-like beasts. The strength of Wine Sovereign was now undeniable. He really had been playing with them before, and even now hadn't used his full power. Wine Sovereign had said he was walking the quasi-supreme path and that his greatest strength was not the sword. This time, he used his sword, not his most powerful Tao. Drinking deeply, Wine Sovereign said, so satisfying. I haven't felt this good in a long time. Lin Moyu flew out from the array to stand beside him, grinning. Senior, How much strength did you use in that sword? Wine Sovereign replied, maybe 80 or 90% enough for Centipede. He said it casually, but for him only. Old Centipede was no weakling, and his henchmen being slain, each was far stronger than the old East Dragon Python ancestor. Even among full completion experts, the strength difference was massive. Lin Moyu was puzzled. Why was Old Centipede's true body a myriapod? Wine Sovereign laughed, understandable confusion. Old Centipede's real name is Lord Myriad Legs. I just gave him the nickname. He was originally a myriapod beast. He once accidentally wandered into an ancient desolation path and came to chaos, where he consumed a strange fruit, shed his old nature, and merged with chaos, gaining the power to cultivate. He later took human form and became Lord Myriad Legs, but his foundations were poor and he couldn't progress farther. As for our grudge, it started over some treasures, but that's too old to bother mentioning. His 3 subordinates are from the Celestial Dog clan of Chaos, not a large group. He once fought them and slaughtered most of the clan. Later, he used special means to control the Celestial Dog clan. Those 3 were the dogs he trained. Celestial dogs as running dogs. Amusing, said Lin Moyu, smiling. It seems he came especially to kill you this time. Wine Sovereign chuckled, it's not the first time. Our feud is ancient, but after this, I doubt he'll bother me again. No more toys to play with. This sword had shown Lord Myriad Legs he was welcome to try again at his own peril. The fight had reminded Lord Myriad Legs just how great the gap really was. Lin Moyu heard the sigh in Wine Sovereign's voice and caught the deeper meaning. It turned out that, to Wine Sovereign, Lord Myriad Legs was just a toy, a pastime for when boredom struck. These top-level beings had some rather bizarre hobbies, indeed. Lin Moyu did not comment. So you're about to attempt your quasi-supreme breakthrough, senior? Wine Sovereign replied, the time is about right. But after all this, you may have some trouble, little friend. By that, do you mean that fellow Taoist Ear East? Wine Sovereign roared with laughter. Truly clever. You are a delight to talk to. Ear East is a formation master of some renown in chaos. He's a decent person, just a bit petty. You broke his array, so he won't let it go. Lin Moyu asked, but chaos is vast. Even if Lord Myriad Legs tells him, how could he ever find me? Wine Sovereign shook his head, he's got his methods. Others who broke his arrays in the past were always found, eventually. But don't worry, he's not vicious. He just likes to challenge others in formation skills, not to kill. Lin Moyu thought, so Ear East really is obsessed with formations. Wine Sovereign nodded, absolutely. He's probably trying to use array mastery to break his shackles and become a quasi-supreme. Who knows? It's not a big deal, just a small hassle. He believed Lin Moyu was backed by a supreme, so if anything serious happened, the supreme would intervene. Well, I should be off. Take care, little friend. Wine Sovereign drank and turned away, leaving with easy confidence. Lin Moyu bowed, until next time. By then, may you have achieved the Tao. Wine Sovereign raised his gourd one more time and vanished into the darkness, his laughter echoing through the void. Lin Moyu murmured, time for me to go, too. He sent out a chaos rune, causing the grand array to vanish, leaving only a faint crack in the void. Then, as light flowed at his fingertip, tiny threads of energy drifted out. These threads contained a faint aura not his own. So this is how Ear East tracks people, he thought. They came from the earlier formation he cracked. Ear East had deliberately left them behind so subtly that even full completion experts would likely miss them. This let Ear East track down whoever ruined his arrays. As Wine Sovereign said, Ear East meant no harm, just wanted to compete in array mastery. But Ear East's tricks didn't escape Lin Moyu's exceptionally sharp soul. With a tiny search he found the markers and erased them. With the evidence gone, Lin Moyu took out the Calamity crossing boat and flew away into the darkness. After Lin Moyu's departure, countless tree roots burst from the void, wiping away time itself. Even anyone trying to peer back into the past through time reversal would find nothing. The space became silent again, everything from before was erased. A few days later, an array disk flew in, unfolded a spatial passage, and a middle-aged man stepped out. He stared around in confusion. It was clearly here. Why did it cut off so abruptly? Did someone figure out my trick? Impossible. Even those ancient monsters can't spot my handwork. Who broke my array? He searched the area, then activated another disk, creating a formation that radiated strong temporal energy but got no results, for Little Tree had wiped away the timeline. Ear East muttered, so clean, even time's gone. But you think that can fool me? He quickly deployed more array discs, forming a giant formation that scanned billions of miles. This time, the temporal scrying wasn't of this spot, but of somewhere distant. Phantasms appeared in the formation shadows of what had occurred. Wine Sovereign and Lin Moyu were both among them. Ear East chuckled, the ancient desolation void always leaves a projection. Even if you erase things here, echoes show up elsewhere. Not very clean. What's this? Ear East then spotted the distant crack. To read ahead, subscribe to my Patreon. 4415. Chapter 4415, She Has Returned. Chapter 4415, She Has Returned. Ear East discovered a tiny crack. When he saw what was inside, his eyes immediately sparkled with excitement. He was like a blazing sun in the darkness, his entire aura shifted, energy surging, and behind him illusory formations manifested one after another. He saw a chaos rune he had never encountered before, so complex and advanced it shocked him. And behind that rune, an even more unimaginable grand array was hidden. All of Ear East's focus was captured by this formation, he forgot everything else. At that moment, in his eyes, there was only the chaos rune left by Catastrophe Supreme, and the grand array behind it. He had no idea that, inside the grand array beyond the rune, a pair of eyes were silently watching him. Aboard the Calamity boat, Lin Moyu saw Ear East and observed his reaction. A real formation fanatic, he muttered. As Wine Sovereign had said, Ear East was truly obsessed. His devotion to formations had reached a unique level. Yet Lin Moyu shook his head. It's a shame, such obsession means he can never use arrays to become a quasi-supreme. His path is wrong. Little Tree, listening, looked doubtful. Master's point is interesting, but doesn't obsession make enlightenment easier? Lin Moyu replied, not so. The obsession allows you to touch the peak, but to surpass it becomes even harder. What I've realized lately is, if you worship your path too much, you are shackled by it. Wine Sovereign has his own path, but he learned to let go of his faith in the path and create something entirely his own in order to break through. Ear East is the opposite, too fixated on formations, he venerates them. That limits him. Sometimes faith is a shackle, you can use it, but don't trust in it too much. Little Tree pondered this idea, use the Tao, but don't let it bind you. Lin Moyu smiled, don't think too hard, these are just my recent insights. If you and Chaos Child recover all your memories, you'd know this better than me, your realm was once far above mine. Little Tree shook his head, no, our power wasn't gained through our own cultivation, so our understanding is shallow. Your words really inspire me. We were too dependent on innate strength, that's why we were stuck. If I'd understood back then, maybe things would have been different. Lin Moyu smiled again, not pressing further. Whether right or wrong, only time could tell. Little Tree soon found an ancient desolation path. Now their work in ancient desolation was done and it was time to return to chaos. From earlier conversations, Lin Moyu knew this spot was close to the western pole of chaos. Though, close, meant a several thousand-year flight for the Calamity boat. Luckily, Little Tree could locate ancient paths, shortening the journey. There were paths everywhere, even in ancient scars. Whether they led directly to the West Pole depended on luck. Once back in the West Pole, he could search for Catastrophe Supreme's next array. With the ancient desolation array now refined, Lin Moyu could much more accurately sense the remaining array's locations. Little Tree quickly found a path. The Calamity boat plunged in, rushing toward the West Pole. The force of the path battered the boat with a hammering sound. Lin Moyu refined pure water and monitored Ear East's movements, who was still studying the rune with little progress. Lin Moyu knew Ear East would never try brute forcing it, that would stain his pride and reputation. Watching, Lin Moyu could roughly judge Ear East's skill. After a dozen days, Ear East began his attempt. But his method was wrong. The rune didn't react. He tried over and over for days, but never even approached the solution. Lin Moyu noticed his patience never wavered. To such a cultivator, decades or centuries made no difference. 1 year passed, and still Ear East had no success. He paused, sent out many array discs, and started reviewing what had happened here. Since time at this spot had been erased, he surveyed faint shadows in other voids to reconstruct the record. The result was murky, but enough. That's old wine and that old bug, Myriad Legs. So Myriad Legs bought my triple formation to take on old wine. He really doesn't know himself. To take on old wine was suicide. But behind old wine, there's a formation. He saw the shadow of the grand array, even faint, it was enough. He instantly resolved to track down Old Wine. Old Wine. Time to find Old Wine. Ear East muttered. At that moment, the void warped and Wine Sovereign appeared. No need, I'm here. Ear East eyed him. You're back already? Wine Sovereign replied, of course I came to find you. Ear East said, I didn't know Myriad Legs was buying arrays to fight you. He owed me, so I sold him my main triple array. Wine Sovereign replied, that's not why I'm here, that's trivial. Even with your formation, Myriad Legs is just a plaything to me. He continued, I'm here to tell you one thing, you cannot harm that little friend. He's a friend of mine, and I don't have many friends. You understand what that means? A warning was clear in his tone. They were on good terms, but for others, Wine Sovereign might already have struck. Ear East said, I never intended to hurt him, just to discuss arrays with anyone who breaks my formations. That guy is clever, he wiped my marks, so I can't find him. And there's a grand array here, more worth studying. Wine Sovereign said, good. You must have noticed this array is from a supreme, you can't break it easily. That young man was entrusted by a supreme and refined this formation. If you wish to compete in formation arts, use this array as your test, see if you can solve it. Ear East replied, I thought the same. How long did it take him to reach this point? Wine Sovereign held up a finger. Ear East guessed, 100 years. Wine Sovereign shook his head, a day. That's impossible. Ear East shouted, he'd spent a whole year and made zero progress, how could anyone have managed in one day? Wine Sovereign lowered his voice, a day. Believe it or not, I never lie. Suddenly, he looked up, startled. Ear East did the same. In the far distance, a fierce sword aura surged skyward. With shock, Ear East said, what incredible sword intent. Wine Sovereign's face lit with joy, she's back. And with that, Wine Sovereign vanished on the spot. To read ahead, subscribe to my Patreon. 4416, Chapter 4416, Lin Mohan's Sword. Chapter 4416, Lin Mohan's Sword. Far off in the ancient desolation path, Lin Moyu turned his gaze to the distant horizon. Through the calamity boat, he could only see the scenery of the ancient path, but at that moment he sensed the edge of a sharp sword aura. The sword aura came from his bloodline. This was the first time Lin Moyu felt his blood stir. Big sister. By pure instinct, Lin Moyu knew exactly what was happening. Lin Mohan was in combat, unleashing her full power and thus triggering the resonance of their bloodline. The blood was not easily activated. It meant Lin Mohan was facing a formidable adversary, forced to go all out, even beyond her limits. Lin Moyu closed his eyes, feeling the trembling of his blood, wishing he could rush over, but inside the ancient desolation path, there was no way out except reaching its distant end. The path was long, and he still had far to go. He pondered aloud, little tree, in that direction, see if you can find Lin Mohan. He pointed. Only Little Tree could break past the ancient path's limits and probe outward using space-time powers. Little Tree immediately followed his instructions, extending roots through the void, searching for Lin Mohan. Though not as sensitive as Lin Moyu, Little Tree's senses were still sharp, and by deploying thousands of roots evenly across billions of miles, he quickly finished a vast search. Trial after trial revealed nothing. Little Tree pressed onward, reaching farther each time. Lin Moyu tracked his blood's pulses, guiding Little Tree as they searched. Blood resonance only gave a rough direction, not an exact location, plus, interference from the ancient path made the search tough. Still, he refused to quit. As long as the pulse lasted, he'd keep searching. Found it. At last, after half a month's search, they had a result. Little Tree found a section of the void saturated with sword aura, its source, unmistakably Lin Mohan. Lin Mohan's sword aura was unique, instantly recognizable. Little Tree sent back an image of that region. Unfortunately, only visuals transmitted, no aura. Sword aura still stormed through the void, shredding space into jagged remnants, sword light flickering and swirling endlessly. Whenever Little Tree's root brushed a strand of sword aura, it was severed instantly. Sometimes the sword aura formed blades, sometimes it flashed as a lethal light so wild it dazzled the senses. Though only images arrived, Lin Moyu instantly knew whose sword aura this was. His blood's trembling persisted, so the fight still raged. He directed Little Tree, that way. Little Tree pressed forward, again and again, nearing the source. The sword aura grew stronger and denser. Many roots were cut, but it was no real trouble for Little Tree. We're close. Suddenly, the blood's tremor dropped sharply, Fading Lin Moyu was alarmed, unsure what had happened. At that moment, Little Tree's feed revealed a figure not Lin Mohan, but Wine Sovereign. Wine Sovereign was covered in wounds, blood streaming, sword aura swirling through his slashes. He looked battered, yet his spirit was undiminished, eyes glowing. That gaze was the look of a pilgrim seeing their deity, his lips even faintly moving as if speaking. Wine Sovereign staggered away, vanishing. The blood's tremor vanished. Lin Moyu could give no more directions. Little Tree kept searching along Wine Sovereign's route, sword aura thickening further. Soon, the feed showed heaps of gigantic corpses. Loads of ancient desolation beasts had been slaughtered and left drifting in the void. Little Tree warned, "No going farther, Master Pure Sword Aura covers everything here, I can't break through." Watching, Lin Moyu realized he hadn't seen Lin Mohan a good thing, meaning she should be alright. He asked, "Can you rewind time here?" Little Tree shook his head, "No, time's been shattered by power, can't be reversed." It wasn't erased, but smashed so thoroughly that even temporal powers couldn't scrape it back. With only current images to work from, Lin Moyu reasoned, these corpses were slaughtered by my big sister. She should be fine, but why was she killing so many beasts here? Lin Mohan never did anything meaningless. If she came here, there was a reason. Little Tree, did you catch what Wine Sovereign said? Can you analyze it from his mouth? Little Tree replied, according to his lips, he said, she's back. That fit exactly. Wine Sovereign held Lin Mohan in awe and trusted she'd one day return. Looking closer, Lin Moyu spotted something else in the image. He asked, "What's that? Can you make it out?" Little Tree zoomed in repeatedly, finally revealing a blurred outline. It was a sword, huge beyond imagining. Its presence had distorted the space itself. Even now, its traces lingered. Instantly, Lin Moyu understood. Lin Mohan had come for a sword, sacrificing dozens of ancient beasts to it. Combining this with what Wine Sovereign said, it confirmed the return of the once brilliant Quasi-Supreme. With this deduction, Lin Moyu breathed easy. Just as long as she's safe. He cared little for Lin Mohan's past identity, all that mattered was her safety. Blood ties endure, against all time and space. Now knowing his sister was alright, Lin Moyu's heart was at peace. Clearly, she had her own work to do, advancing step by step. Nothing could be better. Alright, let's go back. He dismissed his worries, finally relaxing. Little Tree withdrew his roots, rest assured, Master, she'll be fine. Lin Moyu asked, why so sure? Little Tree said, I could sense an immense will in her sword aura, must be her intent. It felt familiar, even Supremes would struggle to kill her. Besides, the sword aura injured Wine Sovereign, that alone means her power is overwhelming. Lin Moyu nodded, good work. Sister has gotten even stronger, so I must step up my efforts. I'm close to chaos great completion, but before that I want to strengthen my body and soul as much as possible. Little Tree, any way to speed up my rebirth count? To boost his body and soul, his first thought was the rebirth talent. Growing stronger through endless rebirth, straightforward, efficient. It depended on Little Tree and the cause-seeking ring. With less than 4,000 rebirths left, Lin Moyu felt it wasn't enough. Little Tree pondered, right now, I'm absorbing ancient chaos energy as fast as possible. With help from Chaos Divine Earth, we can manage about 10 new rebirths per day. But if you want to speed up accumulation, we'll need to go somewhere. Luckily, it's right in the western pole of chaos. That place is called West Pole Pure Land. To read ahead, subscribe to my Patreon. 4417, Chapter 4417, Space-Time Rift. Chapter 4417, Space-Time Rift. West Pole Pure Land. A memory surfaced and Lin Moyu joked, the western Pure Land of the Buddha clan in the Great World. Is it related to the Buddhist clan? Little Tree replied, probably not. There's an area in the West Pole of Chaos called the Pure Land. It's very special. A pool of chaos divine water grows at its core. Refining chaos divine water can greatly increase the number of rebirths, but getting chaos divine water won't be easy. Lin Moyu smiled, is your chaos divine earth related to their chaos divine water? Little Tree shook his head, not really, just the names are similar. Chaos divine earth is my companion object, chaos divine water is the essence of water in chaos. Lin Moyu wondered, shouldn't the essence of water be the ancestral water? He recalled seeing a lake called ancestral water when he first crossed to the other shore. Its owner, the white-robed elder, was one of Catastrophe Supreme's group. He wondered how ancestral water related to chaos divine water, and which was stronger. Little Tree said, in my memory there's only chaos divine water, not ancestral water. I've seen the ancestral water you possess, it's similar to the essence of chaos divine water, but ordinary ancestral water isn't as good. At his peak, Little Tree had gotten chaos divine water, so he spoke with authority. The two were similar, but chaos divine water was superior, regular ancestral water couldn't compare at all. Besides increasing rebirth count, Lin Moyu asked, does chaos divine water help you recover? Little Tree answered honestly, a little bit, but not much. If you're only doing this for me, don't take the risk of West Pole Pure Land, but if you want more rebirths, it's worth the journey. The West Pole Pure Land wasn't safe. Little Tree's memories about its dangers hadn't fully returned. Lin Moyu guessed from another angle. Since Little Tree once successfully obtained chaos divine water, at his peak he must have been able to handle the Pure Land's dangers. With the Calamity boat today, he should be fine. Chaos Child suddenly popped up, going to West Pole Pure Land for chaos divine water. Lin Moyu looked at him, you want chaos divine water too? Chaos Child said, yeah, I want it. Chaos divine water would improve my inner world. Chaos divine water and chaos divine earth both were rare treasures, the condensed essence of chaos. For Chaos Child, gaining either brought great benefits. Lin Moyu decided, then after we reach the West Pole, we'll make a trip there. Even if not for Chaos Child, just increasing my rebirth count is reason enough. Meanwhile, Lin Mohan's sword aura shook ancient desolation, spreading outward through layer upon layer of space, then crossing desolate scars to reach chaos. Suddenly, the sword Tao throughout chaos hummed and shuddered. All sword cultivators were startled awake across the 4 extremities and 3 domains, ancient existences slowly opened their eyes. Has she returned? Yes, that's her sword intent, she's really back. After countless years, she returns. Looks like chaos and ancient desolation won't be peaceful for long. Back then, she and some others seemed to be plotting something. Is it finally happening? In that case, it's time to wake up and move again. Whispers echoed through chaos's secret corners, with ancient beings gradually awakening. Chaos and ancient desolation grew lively. The Calamity boat traversed countless ancient paths. Each time Little Tree found a new route, the journey shortened. A trip that should have taken thousands or tens of thousands of years lasted only 10 years. At last, they exited the final ancient path and saw the desolate scar. The boundary of chaos and ancient desolation, a wound from their clashing powers. Desolate scars exist between the 4 extremities and 3 domains, as well as between chaos and ancient desolation. The desolate scar between chaos and ancient desolation is much larger and more chaotic. Within chaos, the scar's just an offshoot of the real thing. Little Tree explained, desolate scars lack ancient desolation's divine light, but are even less safe. When chaos and ancient desolation collided, many beings were flung into the scar. Most died, torn by the conflicting forces, but a rare few adapted. They were cast off by both chaos and ancient desolation, surviving only in the scar. They're called dual abandoned creatures, witless, mutated, and empowered by both forces. They developed strange abilities. It was a warning to Lin Moyu, don't take desolate scars lightly, even with the Calamity boat. Lin Moyu asked, the scar is vast, traveling at normal speed would waste much time. Is there a shortcut? Little Tree said, there is a lot of space-time rifts were created in the chaos ancient desolation clash. You can cross quickly through them, but they're dangerously unpredictable. Space-time rifts. Lin Moyu thought about their properties. Are they more dangerous than ancient paths? Chaos Child chimed in, not exactly dangerous, just unpredictable. Space and time are scrambled, no one knows where they'll exit. You might pass through one rift and end up in chaos, or pop out back in ancient desolation. You might enter, wander a bit, and thousands of years pass outside. Little Tree added, they are dangerous, though a kind of being called space-time maggots lives there. They can take you to the past. It's not true time travel, more like showing you old events, sometimes your own, sometimes others. The past can change your soul. If the influence runs too deep, your soul dims and you're eventually lost in space-time itself. The two took turns warning Lin Moyu. Space-time rifts, desolate scars, all unpredictable, all uniquely perilous. For these reasons, many preferred to spend 10,000 years flying rather than enter a rift, but sometimes, a rift would open suddenly, and you couldn't avoid it. Lin Moyu asked, Little Tree, can your space-time power see through the rift and find the exit? Little Tree answered, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Lin Moyu made up his mind, then when we arrive, check the destination. If you can identify it, we'll enter, if not, let's steer clear. That was my thought too, Little Tree replied. Suddenly Chaos Child asked, what if we meet a chaos vortex? Do we go in? Little Tree hesitated, the question clearly troubled him. A chaos vortex? Lin Moyu asked curiously, what's that? To read ahead subscribe to my Patreon. 4418, Chapter 4418, not something you can go to just by wanting. Chapter 4418, not something you can go to just by wanting. Chaos Child chattered away, describing chaos vortices to Lin Moyu, with Little Tree filling in the gaps whenever the explanation wasn't quite clear. Chaos vortices only exist within the desolate scars, formed by the collision of ancient desolation and chaos powers. They're similar to space-time rifts but not quite the same, though on the surface they're almost indistinguishable. Unlike well-known space-time rifts, very few know about chaos vortices. Even among full completion experts, most are unaware they exist. A chaos vortex doesn't lead to the past, rather, it connects to the deepest core of chaos and ancient desolation. Legends say the evolution of chaos and ancient desolation produced a true core, hiding its greatest secret. Those who reach and solve this secret might master all of chaos and ancient desolation. Lin Moyu found this odd. If the legend was true, supremes and quasi-supremes would leave no stone unturned to find it. To rule all chaos and ancient desolation is a huge lure. Even Tao would surely want to seek it out. But the reality is that no one actively searches for it, which is strange. Little Tree said, in our era, some tried, but whether they succeeded is unknown. Chaos Child added, those people should have failed. This isn't something you can find just by looking. I tried to but found nothing. Little Tree agreed, I don't seem to recall finding it either, but maybe I did and just haven't recovered that memory. The chaos vortex might only be legend, or perhaps someone entered and returned. Either way, chaos and ancient desolation are not under a single master. Tao remains the strongest, followed by supremes and quasi-supremes. Lin Moyu laughed, don't brood over things you can't change. Chaos Child said, it's just a hope, you never know. There's always a chance in the world, but this one's slim. Lin Moyu did know of a way to improve the odds, like using the cause-seeking ring to make a chance into a certainty. But he doubted it would work. If the ring could do it, its spirit would already have found the core before it was erased. And since it didn't, that says a lot. Yet the thought nagged at him, not trying felt unsatisfying. To master chaos and ancient desolation is a hard temptation to ignore, even for Lin Moyu. Is it worth it? He took out the cause-seeking ring, feeling almost compelled to give it a try. But as soon as the thought arose, a terrifying sense of danger surged from the depth of his soul, instantly flooding his body with cold sweat. His soul shivered uncontrollably. Even at his level, cold sweat was rare. This was serious. Chaos Child and Little Tree looked at him, puzzled. The intensity of the warning snuffed out the impulse instantly. Lin Moyu calmly dissected the risk. Either the ring's backlash would be so great that his current rebirth count couldn't save him and he'd perish. Or the dangers within a chaos vortex would be unimaginable. Death would be certain. Either way, his soul issued a clear warning. He always trusted his instincts, so he dropped the idea. Seeing his companion's confusion, Lin Moyu shook his head, nothing. Let's stick to the plan. Chances are we'll never encounter a chaos vortex, so don't worry about it. After that, Lin Moyu was sure, encountering a chaos vortex wasn't just a matter of luck. Its existence and appearance must follow some unknown principle. Even Tao wouldn't know. Mastery of chaos and ancient desolation is beyond easy reach. The calamity boat slipped silently into the desolate scar. Lin Moyu sensed something strange. The mixed aura of ancient desolation and chaos invaded the boat, messy and filled with scattered strands of Tao that were shattered beyond comprehension. As Little Tree had said, the creatures of the scar have jumbled power systems. No clear cultivation levels, somewhat like ancient desolation creatures, but able to harness fragments of Tao almost reminiscent of chaos. Some scar dwellers even possess domain powers. In this chaotic environment, intelligence dwindles, instinct rules, so neither chaos nor ancient desolation accept them. They're called dual-born beings. Not long after entering the scar, Little Tree said, there's a space-time rift 10 million miles to the right. He'd long ago sent his roots out searching for rifts, covering a radius of 100 million miles around the Calamity boat. Following Little Tree's cue, Lin Moyu saw his first space-time rift. It looked nearly identical to an ordinary spatial crack, like a never-ending bolt of lightning or the aftermath of a battle between titans. Seeing it, Lin Moyu sensed danger. With his necromancer's eye, he saw faint soul flames flickering inside. These are the denizens of the rift, space-time maggots, a peculiar life form. They cannot leave their rift. If they do, instant death follows. Some cultivators have tried to use them to decipher the Tao of space-time, but every attempt failed. Space-time maggots aren't strong, but their very weakness allows a unique niche to exist. Lin Moyu asked, "Where does this rift lead?" Little Tree had sent in his roots and got a fast answer. It leads about several tens of billions of miles backward. So, entering would mean being flung far behind. Little Tree's roots not only explored, they absorbed ambient space-time power, boosting his own strength. Lin Moyu could tell Little Tree's aura was slightly restored, not much, but every bit helps. The Calamity boat glided on in silence, piercing darkness and chaotic voids. Little Tree kept finding more rifts, most useless. Occasionally, when directions matched, Lin Moyu steered the boat in. In this way, space-time rifts let them traverse unimaginable distances, saving huge amounts of travel time. The rift's effect on the boat was minor, less difficult than ancient paths. The space-time maggots posed no threat. Protected by the boat, Lin Moyu and his companions were perfectly safe. 3 years in, after another rift, Little Tree said, "We're about halfway." The aura of chaos grows ever denser. Lin Moyu nodded. "That's better than expected." Originally they'd planned 10 years to cross the scar, now it looked to be much less. Suddenly, dazzling light burst from the side. A giant blade appeared in the void, smashing down on the Calamity boat. To read ahead, subscribe to my Patreon. 4419, Chapter 4419, The Chaotic Spirit Pearl. Chapter 4419, The Chaotic Spirit Pearl. The blade came too fast for Lin Moyu to react. It had already struck the Calamity boat. The Calamity boat was thrown backward uncontrollably, but Lin Moyu's icy gaze was fixed on the sudden great blade. Thankfully, the Calamity boat protected him. Without it, he would have died. Whoever attacked possessed immense power, at least full completion level, and stronger than most full completion cultivators. Yet, looking around even with the Necromancer's eye, Lin Moyu couldn't spot the attacker. The heavy blade flashed in the void again, appearing before the Calamity boat and striking down a second time. Boom! The Calamity boat was knocked away once more, buffeted so strongly that Lin Moyu couldn't control it. Fortunately, it was sturdy enough to withstand these blows, only getting battered, not broken. Lin Moyu knew the problems lay with himself. His realm wasn't high enough. If he were full completion, the attacker couldn't budge the Calamity boat. If the boat were fully restored, they couldn't split it. But as it stands, neither applied. He was forced to watch as the boat bounced from impact to impact. Little Tree tried to intervene to steady the boat, but Lin Moyu stopped him. He wasn't afraid of strong foes. What mattered was that the enemy hadn't even shown themselves. The attacker was the blade itself, with no visible wielder. Again and again, the boat became a ball kicked around by the blade, slashed repeatedly. Still, he saw no sign of the enemy. Little Tree wondered, could it be the blade itself attacking us? Chaos Child retorted, "Isn't that obvious? The blade itself is hitting us." "Quiet," reserved Peng suddenly piped up. "There's a race called the Warblade clan. Their real bodies are blades. Could it be them?" Lin Moyu considered. "If so, they should have souls, but I don't sense any spirit." Peng explained, "The Warblade clan doesn't have souls. They're a kind of artifact spirit, but not true artifact spirits." Lin Moyu was intrigued. "Explain." Peng continued, "Long ago, there was a clan in Chaos that loved blades, the Warblade clan. It's said they found some treasure in the scar and brought it back. Soon after, all members of the clan vanished. Later, people found Warblade clan blades in the scar, but none found any of the people themselves. Eventually, it was concluded the entire clan died out, leaving only blades, which became spiritual, yet not like typical artifact spirits, very odd, with no answer. All that's known. Warblades roam the scar and attack any creature passing by." Now Lin Moyu was truly interested. A whole clan destroyed, its weapons gaining independent essence. Little Tree and Chaos Child exchanged shocked glances. They were thinking of something. Pung's, long ago, was eons after Little Tree and Chaos Child's era, countless epochs between. Back when they existed, time wasn't even counted, the Warblade clan was long in the future. The fact that they'd thought of something meant the Warblade story was related. Lin Moyu urged, if you two have guessed something, say it. The Warblade kept slamming the Calamity boat, but couldn't breach it, so let it keep trying. Chaos Child coughed. Based on Pung's tale, we thought of a being called the Chaotic Spirit Pearl. Not sure, but the odds are high. The pearl can disguise itself as any treasure, not true disguise, more like it appears as what you most desire, to your eyes, it becomes your dream item. It affects all who see it, splitting into countless bodies, so everyone thinks they've secured something unique. But when one tries to refine it, the pearl reverses the process, refining its would-be master instead. It absorbs the essence of flesh and soul, discards the rest, and attaches what's left onto a weapon, making that weapon its thrall. So many of its minions are born this way. Back when everyone was strong, the pearl made little difference. Back then, strong individuals abounded. Now, with fewer powerful cultivators, the pearl's ability could flourish. If the Warblade clan fell to the pearl, then each clan member saw the pearl as their ideal, grabbed it, and, during refinement, were themselves refined. Their essence was devoured, remnants attached to their blades, and thus the weapons became the pearl's minions, their clan wiped out. Lin Moyu said, isn't that invincible? It just dupes tribes, refines strong cultivators, and adds more underlings. Little Tree shook his head. No, it has limits, its targets can't be much stronger than itself, and the number it can control is limited. When it hits a maximum, it must choose. We don't know the exact cap, but it isn't huge. If a cultivator's power is high enough, and unless the pearl has godlike numbers, it can't tip the scales. For us, the pearl wasn't a threat, never entered the big wars. Chaos Child added, maybe that's how it survived. Too weak for war, so it slipped by. Probably wounded itself messing in those battles. Little Tree agreed, likely true, but even if it survived, it would struggle to return to chaos. Chaos Child concluded, it might visit occasionally unless luck's bad, it'll avoid trouble. But right now, with Tao ruling chaos, if the pearl gets caught, it's finished. So it hides in the scar, which is both its home and a great cover. Little Tree further deduced, the Warblade clan probably didn't find the pearl by chance, the pearl sought them out, needing essence to recover. Chaos Child concurred, the pearl used the clan as nourishment for its revival. Lin Moyu said, all right, now we know the enemy, next is how to handle it. The attacking Warblade was powerful, better than most full completion cultivators, and without a soul, making several of Lin Moyu's methods useless. Little Tree advised, Master, use undead minions to lure out the Chaotic Spirit Pearl. If you can't beat the blade, defeat the pearl directly. Lin Moyu understood, good idea. 4420, Chapter 4420, Only the Canny Survive. Chapter 4420, Only the Canny Survive. The Chaotic Spirit Pearl requires souls and flesh to restore itself, but it doesn't dare enter the chaos directly and harvest on a large scale, for fear of attracting the attention of Tao. Over the years, perhaps it has made a few careful moves, but it's certainly never fully recovered. It's a cowardly thing, and also cautious by nature. Judging from its actions now, it had targeted the souls within the Calamity boat. If so, Lin Moyu decided to give it a temptation, using sheer numbers to lure it in. Undead minions might not be individually strong, but there were enough of them. Ignoring the blade outside, Lin Moyu released a sea of undead minions. The moment they appeared, they scattered in all directions as if fleeing for their lives. Little Tree said, if it needs souls and flesh, once you release the undead minions, the attack should stop. That Warblade was too strong, wiped out a horde of undead minions, a huge loss for the Chaotic Spirit Pearl if not careful. Just unleashing the undead would prove whether the pearl needed souls and flesh. As expected, as soon as they appeared, the blade's strikes halted, letting the Calamity boat stabilize. But the blade hovered nearby, waiting, as if to prevent escape. Lin Moyu unleashed tens of billions of undead minions, scattering them far and wide enough to hook the Chaotic Spirit Pearl. Little Tree's roots stabbed deep into the void, transmitting images from afar, watching every angle and corner. Though undead minions looked identical, each had an independent soul, differences indeed existed. Many Chaos World species look the same physically, which wasn't odd. Countless blades materialized in the void along with various other treasures, each radiating a powerful aura. Collectively, they formed a siege, trapping the undead inside. Seeing this, Chaos Child yelled, "It must really be him." No matter how many different shapes the treasures took, their aura was identical, proof they shared a master. Lin Moyu's gaze swept across them. 10 million by exact count. The pearl's control limit must be 10 million. Little Tree agreed, seems so. Each treasure represented a slain powerhouse, strong or weak, matching the former owner's strength. Very few were true full completion class, most were chaos minor completion or even lower. But under the pearl's control, even the weakest weapons achieved formidable might. Clearly, the pearl was indiscriminate, now devouring whomever possible to restore itself. Little Tree said, "Judging by these numbers, it's nowhere close to its former strength." Chaos Child snorted, "It was never much, always relying on others' power to fight." Little Tree shook his head. "Regardless, surviving till now has beaten most old monsters. Master, send out even more minions, and have them assault the siege. He's so cautious and less forced, he won't show." The two understood the pearl well, knowing exactly how to bait it. Lin Moyu flooded hundreds of billions more undead out, ordering them to attack from every angle and at once. While the chaotic spirit pearl could manage massive numbers, fine manipulation was impossible. Minions with individual souls could act on their own. And undead can resurrect infinitely. Once the attack began, stopping them became impossible. The first breakthrough came fast, with swarms escaping the encirclement. At that moment, every treasure trembled, and a fierce will descended. A radiant pearl appeared in the void. As Lin Moyu saw it, a flood of illusions assaulted him, objects, some unknown but all strangely familiar. "What's this?" he murmured, dazed. These were things he'd never seen, but somehow recognized. "Is this something I saw in a past life?" The treasures looked powerful, rivaling the cause-seeking ring. In those visions, Little Tree and the cause-seeking ring even flashed by. It lasted barely 2 seconds, then an irresistible urge to possess the pearl rose in Lin Moyu's heart. This pearl was what he wanted most, nothing else compared. "Danger!" A sharp warning screamed from his soul. The catastrophe scepter automatically surfaced, its soul jewel glowing bright gold. Golden light blazed into his soul, instantly clearing his mind. Little Tree reached over, feeding him soul power from a root. Chaos Child readied purified water, all set to help Lin Moyu break the pearl's spell. He smiled wryly. "Relax, I didn't fall for it." Little Tree nodded. "Master is fine, but we can't be too careful. The chaotic spirit pearl can be troublesome in strange ways." Looking again, Lin Moyu's mind was clear. That greedy hunger was gone, the radiant pearl no longer tempted him. The pearl was powerful. Had the catastrophe scepter's soul jewel not activated, he might have succumbed already. Now, all those flash visions were locked forever in his mind. So many treasures, uncountably powerful. Little Tree and Chaos Pearl were in there, and he even glimpsed the chaotic pearl itself. Most of those things he'd never seen, only past life speculation offered a clue. No time to ponder further. Lin Moyu prepared to make his move. Chaos Child warned, "Don't rush, this isn't its true body yet." Little Tree agreed, "He'll move soon. I'll force its real body out. When that happens, strike quickly, there may be only one chance." Still not the real body. Remarkably cautious. Lin Moyu realized that even as careful as he was, he fell a bit short of these ancient beings. Little Tree, sensing his thoughts, mused, "In our prime, the world was ruthless. Before the Chaos War, civil struggles never ceased. When those first domains appeared, all the creatures born in them were extremely strong, each shouting, 'My fate is mine, not the heavens,' each doing whatever they pleased. In that world, only the truly cunning survived." Lin Moyu understood. Worse the environment, craftier the survivors. Suddenly, Chaos Child shouted, "He's moving. Fat Tree, get ready." To read ahead, subscribe to my Patreon.